Chapter 1056. The setting sun hung on the western horizon, and the sky was filled with red clouds like slowly flowing blood. Even though it was already October, the weather in Jingmen Island was still a bit hot. 6 o'clock in the evening. 2 black Audi cars slowly entered the Everlasting Feast Hall. The person in charge of the Everlasting Feast Hall quickly greeted them, and brought Duan Mulin and the senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau to the restaurant's VIP lounge. Fragrant tea and fruits. As the waiters and waitresses brought these things and then left, Tan Xiao came in from the outside with a smile on his face. Behind him were Yuan Chuling, Yu Kai, Hu Qingsong and Cheng Yannan, who came to watch the fun. Senior Duanmu, I apologize for not coming out to greet you. Tan Xiao came to Duan Mulin with a smile. He watched him get up from the sofa and shook hands with him. Then he shook hands with the senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau. Duan Mulin's eyes then swept over Yuan Chuling's group of 4 behind Tan Xiao and smilingly said, "Who are they, Tan Xiao?" "They're just here to join in the fun, Senior Duanmu. You don't need to pay attention to them," Tan Xiao smilingly said. "The reason why I brought them here is to let them see what a big business is." A look of surprise appeared on Duan Mulin's face. He knew Tang Xiao quite well and knew that Tang Xiao always had a deep purpose in doing things. Bringing these young people here was probably not just to let them see some big business. However, since Tan Xiao had said so, he wouldn't drive them out. As they took their seats, he smilingly asked, "Since you've developed the aircraft, why don't you let me have a look at it before we trade?" Tan Xiao clapped his hands and smilingly said, "Come on in." Immediately, Kong Xia, who was waiting outside the door, walked into the hall with a black suitcase. She had rushed to Jingmen Island early this morning, and personally brought the aeroglider she had developed. "Kong Xia, take out the aircraft and show it to Senior Duanmu," said Tan Xiao with a smile. Kong Xia faintly smiled and put the black suitcase on the tea table in front of Duan Mulin and several high-level members of the Special Abilities Bureau. After 2 unlocking processes, the black suitcase was opened by her, and inside was an oblate frisbee with 2 footprints on its surface. "Senior Duanmu, this is a high-tech product developed by our magnificent Tang Corporation. We originally named it Aeroglider, but Tan Xiao felt that the name was too unsophisticated, so he directly named it Hectometer Aeroglider," said Kong Xia with a smile. Duan Mulin personally took the drone out of the black suitcase and held it in his hand to carefully observe it. The higher-ups of the Special Abilities Bureau also came over to study the uniqueness of this thing. Unfortunately, after studying it for more than 10 minutes, they still couldn't figure it out. "Chief Kong, can you give us a detailed introduction of its functions? It's best to demonstrate it to us if possible," said Duan Mulin. Kong Xia faintly smiled and said, "I'll give you a detailed introduction first. As for the demonstration, we need to go to an open place outside. After all, there are many guests in this restaurant, and it's easy to attract others' attention. I think Senior Duanmu also doesn't want the news about the Hectometer Aeroglider to be easily leaked out, right?" "That's right. Please keep it a secret," said Duan Mulin hurriedly. "This Hectometer Aeroglider is a high-tech product developed by a large number of researchers, geomancers, and even some people from the occult sect." Kong Xia smiled. "We've invested a lot of manpower, material resources, and financial resources to develop it. It was oblate in shape, just like the shield held by the captain of the American team in the American blockbuster. However, on its surface there were 2 concave layers, which were made according to the size of the feet standing on it. I have a switch in my hand with 2 buttons on it, one for start and the other for stop. When a person stands on the Hectometer Aeroglider, 2 buckles will extend out from both sides of the 2 concave layers and directly fix the feet on it to ensure the safety of the user. Additionally, it adopts the gravity of space and has a great anti-gravitational system. It's also equipped with sensing equipment and array patterns that cultivators are proficient in. With the combination of these, the user can step on it and fly in the air. The Hectometer Aeroglider is equipped with sensors that can sense the surrounding environment, just like the ultrasonic waves unique to bats. If there's an obstacle ahead, it will automatically plan the route even if the user doesn't react in time to ensure the user's safety. We've also developed an energy battery inside it. Each energy battery can ensure that the aeroglider can fly for 100 kilometers. When the internal power is exhausted, the battery needs to be replaced and continued to be used. Customers who buy the hectometer aeroglider will get 2 energy batteries for free from the magnificent Tang Corporation. It also has another special function. Not only can it fly in the sky, but it can also row on the water surface. When the user stands on it, he can control the hectometer aeroglider to travel quickly on the calm water surface. It can even reduce the power consumption. Having said that, Kong Xia turned her head to glance at Tan Xiao. She saw a smile on his face and was very satisfied with her explanation, which immediately made her feel warm inside. Then, she faced Duan Mulin and the senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau and continued, "We set the price of each hectometer aeroglider at 2 million renminbi, and each battery is 200 renminbi. As for the material used to produce the aeroglider, we've adopted the latest high-tech hybrid material. This material is extremely strong, almost comparable to the hardness of diamonds. Therefore, it has a very long lifespan, and can guarantee that it won't malfunction within a range of 200,000 kilometers. As long as it's not deliberately damaged, there will be absolutely no problem." Duan Mulin and the senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau looked shocked. After hearing Kong Xia's explanation just now, they were keenly aware that the technology of this hectometer aeroglider was definitely far beyond the world's top technology. If its effect was really as Kong Xia said, then this thing was simply an excellent technological product. It could even become a milestone in the history of mankind toward a higher level of technology. They also realized that once this hectometer aeroglider was used in the military, it would be an excellent combat equipment for the soldiers in the army. Every soldier would have the hope to become a superhuman. They even began to imagine the scene when this aeroglider was equipped in the army. Tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, or even millions of soldiers would be equipped with it and fly in the sky in a formation. Additionally, if this aeroglider were to be popularized to the general public, it would probably immediately win the hearts and minds of people all over the world. Its emergence could even replace luxury cars, airplanes, and ships, becoming the world's most advanced means of transportation. Speed. I want to know its speed. Duan Mulin stared at Kong Xia with an expectant look in his eyes. Its top speed is 100 kilometers per hour, said Kong Xia with a smile. Senior Duanmu, you should be well aware that we actually have the ability to increase its speed. But if the speed is too fast, problems will arise, and the consumption of the energy battery won't be able to keep up. Duan Mulin's breathing turned rapid. A top speed of 100 kilometers per hour was already far beyond his expectation. However, it would be better if this aeroglider could go faster. Chief Kong, I want to know how long it will take for your magnificent Tang Corporation to start producing the upgraded version after the launch of this aeroglider. You should have some ideas about the upgraded version, and I want to know the effect of the upgraded version, said Duan Mulin quickly. Kong Xia turned to look at Tan Xiao with a hesitant look on her face. This was the group's technological secret, and she was absolutely unwilling to disclose it to anyone without Tan Xiao's permission. Senior Duanmu, Kong Xia once reported this issue to me, said Tan Xiao with a faint smile. I can tell you if you really want to know now. The speed of this hectometer aeroglider can be doubled in half a year at most, and the energy battery can also last for 200 kilometers. 200 kilometers per hour? Duan Mulin's breathing turned rapid, and his eyes turned particularly bright. Half a minute later he slowly said, I only have 3 questions left now. If these 2 questions can satisfy me, I'll order a lot of the hectometer aeroglider developed by you. Senior Duanmu, let's not talk about those 3 questions first. Tan Xiao let out a faint smile and said, Can you represent the military to discuss this deal with me? I have an imperial sword in my hand, said Duan Mulin in a deep voice. Tan Xiao's eyes instantly lit up as he nodded and said, If so, please tell me the 3 questions, Senior Duanmu. I'm sure you'll get a satisfactory answer. When the user uses the hectometer aeroglider, they need to fly at a high altitude. How high can it fly? Asked Duan Mulin. The highest altitude is 200 meters, answered Tan Xiao. I can accept this height, said Duan Mulin with satisfaction. The second question is, when the user uses the hectometer aeroglider to fly at a high altitude, the wind will inevitably affect the user. You should know that the wind will have a very serious impact on the user if they are directly exposed to the outside. What I want to know is, how do you solve this problem? Tan Xiao smiled and gestured to Kong Xia, hinting her to explain. When the user uses the hectometer aeroglider, a transparent energy shield will appear. It has a very strong ventilation effect and can even protect the user's body. Even if the user encounters objects or birds at a high altitude, it can block all of them. Unless someone shoots with a gun, otherwise the user will never be hurt. Kong Xia said with a smile. Energy shield? Duan Mulin suddenly got up with a horrified expression on his face. He never dreamed that Kong Xia would give him such an answer. Chapter 1057. Duan Mulin had watched a lot of foreign blockbusters, and this kind of futuristic energy shield was definitely something he coveted. It would definitely play a vital role if this kind of energy shield were to be used in the military. For example, if two armies were to fight, they could definitely avoid a lot of bloodshed and deaths with the energy shield protection. Using this kind of high-tech technology on a small aircraft was simply a reckless waste of God's gift. Duan Mulin turned to look at Tan Xiao and stared at Tan Xiao's calm face. Then he asked in a deep voice, "Did you get this technology from the 3-star vestige, Tan Xiao?" "I did get some technological content from the 3-star vestige, Senior Duanmu." Tan Xiao shook his head. "But it definitely doesn't include the energy shield. You should have seen the array I've arranged before. Once the array is activated, it will form an energy shield, and the hectometer aeroglider has an array inside it. So when the hectometer aeroglider is activated, it's equal to activating the defensive array and forming an energy shield. Don't tell me you didn't realize it? An energy battery can only run for 100 kilometers? Duan Mulin suddenly understood, but he still couldn't figure out Tan Xiao's last question, so he asked, "What did you realize?" "The energy battery's consumption," Tan Xiao said helplessly. Without the energy shield's consumption, an energy battery can make the hectometer aeroglider fly for at least 500 kilometers, maybe even farther. Duan Mulin immediately understood and nodded. "What you said makes sense. I've done some research on arrays recently, and found that most of the materials needed to arrange them are jades. Does that mean that jades also contain energy?" "That's right," said Tan Xiao. Duan Mulin gave a thumbs up to Tan Xiao and praised. "You actually used this kind of cultivation content in a technological product. I, Duan Mulin, can only use the word admire to describe it. You're a genius, Tan Xiao. You're definitely a genius that surpasses everyone else." "You're flattering me, Senior Duanmu." Tan Xiao couldn't help laughing. "Tell me your third question." Duan Mulin said, "Will the upgraded version of the hectometer aeroplane have more functions? If you can satisfy me with this last question, I can sign a contract with you right now." Tan Xiao and Kong Xia exchanged glances. When Kong Xia was about to speak, Tan Xiao slightly raised his hand to stop her and said, "I can assure you that the upgraded version of the hectometer aeroglider will have at least one more function." "What kind?" Duan Mulin asked impatiently. Tan Xiao said solemnly, "Invisibility." "What?" Duan Mulin was frightened by Tan Xiao's words. Invisibility was equivalent to being invisible. If anyone in this world could be invisible, it would be too terrifying. Tan Xiao said, "However, we are not going to sell this invisible aircraft because its function is too terrifying. If it is used by some bad guys, it will cause great harm." Duan Mulin was relieved, and his heart was burning with passion. If the 100-mile flying device could become invisible, it would definitely not be any worse than a godly weapon. In the future, if the soldiers of China activated stealth mode and fought against the enemy, they would definitely be able to one-sidedly slaughter the enemy. After all, the enemy couldn't see him, but he could clearly see the enemy. Even when he was right in front of the enemy wouldn't notice. That effect, Duan Mulin shot a deep look at Tan Xiao and said, "I believe in your character and your guarantee. Tan Xiao, if your magnificent Tang Corp develops a stealth hectometer aeroglider, you must never sell it to anyone or any force other than the Chinese National Security Agency. Otherwise, the strategic structure of the entire world would undergo earth-shattering changes. And this kind of change will bring huge hidden dangers to the various countries. Tan Xiu nodded and said, "Don't worry, I know what to do. Also, even if I sell it to the Chinese military, the quantity won't be too much, because this kind of invisibility function requires me to do it myself. My time is limited, so I can only sell 100 to the Chinese military at most." "That's enough." Duan Mulin nodded in satisfaction. "Then can we sign the contract now?" asked Tan Xiu with a smile. "If my guess is correct, you should have already prepared the contract," said Duan Mulin. "Take it out and let us have a look. If we think there's no problem, we can sign the contract now." Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and gestured to Kong Xia. The latter immediately dialed a number, and a senior executive of the magnificent Tang Corp came in with 2 contracts. Tan Xiu didn't rush and calmly waited for Duan Mulin and the other senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau to finish reading the contract. "The contract is fine. The quantity isn't filled in, so it should be reserved for us, right?" Duan Mulin smiled and said, "Of course, I also need to know how big the order our country can place." Tan Xiu nodded. "If it's too small, I'll have to promote the aeroglider to the people. After all, we're investing in the research and development, and the manpower, material, and financial resources are huge. If it's too small, we won't be able to generate profits and may even suffer losses. I need to go out and make a phone call." Duan Mulin nodded. "Please do as you wish," said Tan Xiu with a smile. Duan Mulin got up and left the hall with the senior executives of the Special Abilities Bureau. Not far away, on the high-end leather sofa, Yuan Chuling, Yu Kai, Hu Qingsong, and even Cheng Yannan, who had a special ability, were all dumbfounded and had yet to sober up from the shock. Shock. Unparalleled shock. In the past, they thought that the magnificent Tang Corp only had a few kinds of products such as cosmetics, nutritional products, or fine wine like God's nectar. But now, the conversation between Tan Xiu and Duan Mulin made them realize that the magnificent Tang Corp also had other products, and this product was simply terrifying. It was an aeroglider. It was something that could only be seen in science fiction novels and sci-fi movies. The level of science and technology was at least decades ahead of the modern technology, and even hundreds of years ahead of it. Tan Xiu looked at the 4 people, and a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He coughed twice and smilingly asked, "Are you scared out of your wits? Did you realize that what I'm doing is a big deal?" Yuan Chuling's family was inextricably linked with the military, and his father had developed technological weapons and sold them to the military. Therefore, he was the first among the 4 to sober up. However, when he looked at Tan Xiu, aside from the deep shock in his eyes, there was also an indescribable complicated expression. "You shouldn't have brought us here, eldest brother." Yuan Chuling took a deep breath and forced a smile. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and asked, "Have you realized it?" Yuan Chuling nodded and said, "We're fools if we still can't realize it. This is the core secret of your magnificent Tang Corp, and also a state secret. Big Bro Tang, even if you trust us, you shouldn't have brought us here." Realized it? Yu Kai, Hu Qingsong, and Cheng Yannan, who had just sobered up from the shock, cursed Yuan Chuling inwardly at the same time. They didn't realize the situation just now, and now Yuan Chuling clearly said that they were fools. "I believe you not only because of your characters, but also because I believe that you won't dare to spread this matter out," said Tan Xiu with a faint smile. "Senior Duanmu is a state personnel, and a very special one at that. If you dare to spread this matter out, it's tantamount to betraying the state's top secret. Not only will you be court-martialed, but you'll also be shot to death." Hiss, Yuan Chuling's group of 4 gasped cold air at the same time. "All right, just keep this matter deep in your heart." Tan Xiu smiled and said, "It won't be long. My magnificent Tang Corp will announce the hectometer aeroglider to the public in a year at most. At that time, we will also sell it to customers all over the world." The 4 immediately felt relieved after hearing it. Immediately after, they looked excited. If the magnificent Tang Corp sold the hectometer aeroglider to the public, wouldn't it mean that they could also buy it? Everyone had the dream of flying. They were all ordinary people, so they were naturally no exception. They looked at the hectometer aeroglider on the tea table and began to fantasize that they would be able to step on the hectometer aeroglider and fly freely like birds in the air of the island in the near future. Half an hour later, Duan Mulin and the top executives of the Special Abilities Bureau returned to the hall with a bit of joy on their faces. After taking a seat, Duan Mulin said, "Tan Xiao, the big boss wants me to pass a message to you." Tan Xiao's expression slightly changed, and he nodded with a solemn expression. "What is it?" "If you want to fully operate the hectometer aeroglider and sell it to the public, you must develop the upgraded product first," said Duan Mulin. "Our country must master the most advanced aeroglider, at least much more advanced than the ones in the ordinary market." "No problem." Tan Xiao nodded happily. "If you want to buy the product in our country, the magnificent Tang Corp will be in charge of the sales, and the state won't participate," said Duan Mulin again. "But if you want to sell the product all over the world, are you willing to cooperate with the state? You should know how big the impact will be once this product is promoted all over the world. Having the state backing you is the biggest guarantee for your magnificent Tang Corporation." Tan Xiao was shaken inwardly and asked in a deep voice, "What does the state want?" "The big boss wants us to have the price starting from the upgraded version," said Duan Mulin with a smile. "Of course, the state will also greatly support all the businesses of your magnificent Tang Corp in the country. We will also give you all kinds of preferential policies." "Deal." Tan Xiao was very satisfied with the proposal and agreed without hesitation. "Then let's sign the contract," Duan Mulin said with a smile. "Our first order is 10,000 aerogliders and 1 million energy batteries. Once you send the goods to us, the money will be immediately transferred to your private account." Asking for monthly votes on the last day. Chapter 1058. Tan Xiao and Kong Xia glanced at each other. They were secretly satisfied with the quantity of the order. It must be known that the unit price of the hectometer aircrafts was 2 million renminbi, and 10,000 of them would be 20 billion renminbi. The unit price of the battery was 200 yuan, and 1 million yuan would be 200 million renminbi. How much was the investment required to develop the 100-kilometer flying machine? Tan Xiao laughed inwardly. He had only given MOE and the technology team a total of 200 million in research and development funds. According to Kong Xia, not even half of the 200 million yuan was used. Furthermore, this was just the beginning. The real time to make money was when the 100-kilometer flying device was sold to the general public. At that time, countless people, countries, and factions would fight to buy it. When that time came, he would definitely earn an unimaginable amount of wealth. Thinking up to this point, Tan Xiao then looked at Duan Mulin and said, "Senior Duanmu, after the hectometer aeroglider is developed, not only will our magnificent Tang Corp give a 50% discount to the country, I'm also willing to donate 20% of the worldwide sales profits to our country." Duan Mulin took a deep look at Tan Xiao. After a long time, he raised his thumb and praised, "I won't say too many words of gratitude. In the future, when the hectometer aeroplane is sold to the whole world, it will depend on the support from the country." "All right." Tan Xiao nodded heavily. In fact, he was very clear that if it was an ordinary person or some super-rich person who had a heaven-defying product like the hectometer aircraft, it would definitely be controlled by the country. It was very likely that the country would even take it for itself. After all, the profits involved were extremely terrifying. Even a country would not be able to remain indifferent. However, he was not an ordinary person, and the country did not dare to be tough with him. In this era, in this world, it was still the fist that made the most sense. Tan Xiao looked at Kong Xia and said in a deep voice, "After the Hector aeroplane is sold all over the world, 10% of the profits will be used for charity. Build schools, build hospitals, help all the needy people in the country. No matter how much we earn, this 10% cannot be less." Kong Xia looked at Tan Xiao with eyes full of admiration and love. She knew the heart of this man in front of her. He was very ruthless towards his enemies, but in fact, the deepest part of his heart was occupied by kindness. She could even imagine what a huge amount it would be to take out 10% of the profits from the Hector aircraft. However, he still made up his mind. She could imagine how many people would benefit in the future. just because this 10% profit was used for charity. That was a number. It was absolutely terrifying. The way Duan Mulin looked at Tan Xiao also changed slightly. In the past, Tan Xiao had medical ethics and a bit of kindness. But now, Tang Xiao's decision would change the fate of countless poor people. This was a righteous and benevolent decision. After signing the contract, Duan Mulin and the top executives of the Special Abilities Bureau didn't stay any longer. They didn't even stay for dinner, and left Jingmen Island in a hurry. Dinner. Tan Xiao, Kong Xia, Yuan Chuling, and the other two stayed in the hall to take the medicine. As they ate and drank to their heart's content, the shock on Yuan Chuling's group completely disappeared. Tan Xiao ordered the waiter to remove the leftovers and replaced it with fragrant tea. Then he lit a cigarette. Yuan Chuling, Yukai, Hu Qingsong. Do you three now understand what a big business is? Asked Tan Xiao with a smile. Yuan Chuling's lips squirmed as he forced a smile and said, Yes, I do. Tan Xiao smiled and said, Actually, today's deal is just one of the magnificent Tang Corporation's deals. It's not a big deal, at least in my eyes. It's because the amount of money earned by the magnificent Tang Corporation is beyond your imagination. My deals with the country and some bosses are sometimes bigger than today's. You three are my classmates and also my brothers. Yet you came to Jingmen Island to fight dogs for such a small amount of money. How do you feel about that? Yuan Chuling let out a hollow laugh and said, Big bro Tang, if I say that I feel good about myself, you'll definitely slap me in the face. To tell you the truth, the one I admire the most is my dad. After all, he can conquer the country with his bare hands and earn so much money. He's already a very powerful figure. But now you're my biggest idol. I guarantee that I'll definitely look up to you in the future. I'll work hard and do my best to earn big money. Big bro Tang, old Yuan's words are exactly what I want to say, said Yukai. I'll never slack off in the future. Also, I'll seriously consider my future path. Although I've said thank you many times, I don't want to say it again this time. There are some words that I'll keep in my heart. Hu Qingsong scratched the back of his head and let out a hollow laugh. Big bro Tang, I Hu Qingsong, don't have such great ability, nor do I have such a big dream. However, you've really given me a big shock today. Let me ask you something. Do you still want a little brother to serve you tea? If you want me to serve you in bed, I'm willing to do it. Fuck off. Tan Xiao was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh as he cursed and said, Old Yuan, you have your father's business and you're bound to take over it in the future, so you have to choose your own path. Yukai, your family is also a businessman, so I won't say anything more. When you take over your father's business in the future, the magnificent Tang Corporation can cooperate with your family in many aspects. We'll make money together. All right. Yuan Chuling and Yukai nodded without a word. Hu Qingsong rolled his eyes and said with dissatisfaction, What about me, Big Bro Tang? You and Xue Chao will work for me in the future, said Tan Xiao with a smile. Don't worry. I believe that those who work for me can also become billionaires. That's a good idea. Hu Qingsong's eyes lit up and he excitedly rubbed his hands. Don't be too happy yet. I have my own standards when it comes to hiring people. At the very least, you must have the ability, Tan Xiao said with a smile. Since you don't want to study at Shanghai University, then you can work and study at the same time. Kong Xia, arrange for this brat to go to a company in Shanghai for an internship. Let him start from the bottom and give him all the hard and tiring work. Be sure to train him into an outstanding leader before he graduates from the university. No problem. Kong Xia nodded with a smile. She was happy to see that Tan Xiao had arranged these students in such a way. It showed that Tan Xiao didn't look down on Yuan Chuling and the others because of his ability and current status. It showed that he was a real man who attached great importance to friendship and righteousness. Hu Qingsong didn't say anything more, but his heart was full of emotions. He was very confused about his future path. Even if he received a big stimulation today, it was not easy for him to establish a great career. At the very least, he didn't have much capital. He could feel Tan Xiao's sincerity. He also knew that Tan Xiao was a brother who attached great importance to friendship and righteousness. Not to mention himself, Tang Xiu had helped Xueqiao a lot in the matter regarding Xueqiao. Late at night, Tan Xiu hugged Kong Xia's slender waist and stood quietly by the window. He looked at the dim street lights outside and the swaying shadows of the trees. His heart was particularly tranquil. Are you going to Shanghai? Or are you going back to Star City? Tan Xiu gently whispered to Kong Xia's ear. I want to go to Nine Dragons Island with you the most, said Kong Xia softly. If you really want to go with me, then go. Tan Xiu said with a smile. Arrange the work at hand and give yourself a vacation. Your words are enough. Kong Xia smiled and said, Our magnificent Tang Corporation is in the harvest season now, so I need to stay in Star City to keep an eye on it. Also, the construction progress in Shanghai is very fast. After investing a lot of money, it's like 3 shifts of continuous construction. According to this progress, the headquarters and industrial park in Shanghai can be built before the end of next year. Once our industrial park is built and put into use, Tan Xiu said with a smile. At that time, our magnificent Tang Corporation can really start to crazily make money. I don't think it's good for you to occupy too much of your time. You and Andy are going to look for a successor. I hope you can devote more time to cultivation in the future. Isn't it too early now? Kong Xia hesitated. Our magnificent Tang Corporation has been established for only a year and a half. Besides, the company is currently developing rapidly. If Andy and I are to hand over our work, I'm afraid. What I mean is that you're going to look for a successor, not handing over your work immediately. Tan Xiu said with a smile. At the very least, you have to train them into confidence and trustworthy people. You also need to train their working ability as well as their understanding of the magnificent Tang Corporation. All in all, it will take about a year and a half. Or, wait until the HQ and industrial park in Shanghai are completely built, and you have completely stabilized there. Then you can let them go. I got it. Kong Xia nodded. Don't worry. Andy and I won't affect our cultivation. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and said, I actually want to hug you and sleep peacefully, but time is too tight. I need to rush to Nine Dragons Island overnight. Alright, have a good rest now. It won't be long before I come back. I'll find some time to accompany you when the time comes. Half an hour later, the Tang sect's disciples boarded their vehicles and quickly arrived at a port in Jingmen Island. The liner set sail and quickly disappeared into the dark sea. This time, the route did not lead directly to Saipan. Many forces were annoyed by the news released by the Celestial Wizard clan, but they still left in the end despite the fact that China helped to spread the news. However, there were still some forces who didn't believe it, and still sent some people to Saipan to investigate the situation. They even sent a liner to search in the Pacific Ocean. They returned to Nine Dragons Island. Tan Xiu immediately ordered the reorganization and issued a batch of cultivation resources. Just as Tan Xiu finished his work and was about to go see Gu Yan, Jin Shi came back from the outside, looking travel-worn. To Tan Xiu's surprise, Jin Shi came back with scars all over his body. The several Tang sect disciples he brought with him were even more seriously injured. They would have died outside if it weren't for the holy healing pills they carried with them. Chapter 1059. Inside the majestic palace, Tan Xiu strode into the luxuriously decorated conference room and looked at Jin Shi, who was covered in scars. A chilling light flashed in his eyes as he asked in a deep voice, What happened? Jin Shi struggled to get up from the chair and bitterly said, We were ambushed by a group of unknown people. They are very powerful and numerous. You haven't figured out their origins? Asked Tan Xiu with a frown. They suddenly appeared and directly attacked us. They didn't give us any time to figure it out. Jin Shi shook his head. However, I can tell from their means that they are not normal humans. They are more like genetic warriors. Tan Xiu lit up a cigarette and said, I may have guessed their origins. Jin Shi stared blankly and asked in astonishment, You guessed their origins, Sect Master? How is that possible? You didn't even see them. Tan Xiu raised his hand to interrupt him and calmly said, Do you still remember the mind-gathering technology in Demonic City? That's Xie Jiqiang who researches genetic drugs? I do. Jin Shi nodded. The one who traded with Xie Jiqiang in Demonic City was called Austin Cole, who belonged to the Sui Corporation, Tan Xiao said. This company is a drug and medical equipment business on the surface, but it's actually a very mysterious arms trading company in Europe. Austin Cole was the third top executive in the Sui Corporation and controlled half of its armed forces. Although he died in Demonic City, I think the Sui Corporation hasn't given up on the genetic drugs. Maybe they also cooperated with other scientific research institutions in addition to Xie Jiqiang. You mean, the people who suddenly attacked us were from the Sui Corporation, Sect Master? Asked Jin Shi. But I can't figure out why they suddenly attacked us. Austin Cole is dead, and so is Xie Jiqiang. In the end we obtained the gene serum, but no one knows. Tan Xiao squinted his eyes and sneered. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. Don't forget that there's still the Darkwind organization. This organization has intelligence agents all over the world. We thought that killing Xie Jiqiang and getting the gene serum was very secretive, but the Darkwind's intelligence agents might have discovered it. Sect Master, the Darkwind organization really needs to be annihilated. Otherwise, there's always the risk of being exposed. Jin Shi angrily said. The Darkwind must be wiped out, but now is not the time, said Tan Xiao lightly. Our sect's overall combat strength is very strong, but the number of sect disciples is very small. Even killing a group of docile sheep will be very troublesome if there are too many of them. Then let's just kill all the Darkwind's top brass directly, said Jin Shi. Do you know where the Darkwind's HQ is? Tan Xiao shook his head. Do you know who's at the top of the Darkwind organization? Jin Shi was speechless. Tan Xiao took out his phone and dialed Song Guanghui's number. The one with the most power in Saipan had died, and Song Guanghui had become the acting supreme officer of Saipan. Tang Xiao learned from Song Guanghui that he would soon become the highest-ranking officer in Saipan, even though he hadn't removed his acting title yet. There's something I need your help with, Uncle Song. Song Guanghui chuckled and said, I'm really happy that you can ask me for help. Tell me, what's the matter? My men were attacked in Saipan in the last 2 days and fled back in panic, said Tan Xiao. They don't know the origin of the attackers, but they are sure that they should be genetic warriors. That's why I'm guessing that they have something to do with Sui. Have you heard of this company, Uncle Song? So, Song Guanghui's voice suddenly rose. Do you know about it, Uncle Song? Asked Tan Xiao. Song Guanghui was silent for half a minute before he slowly said, I know about it. It's more than that. I know this company very well, and I even planted some people in it. Tan Xiao, if it's really this Sui's people who attacked your men, I'm afraid we need to tell you something in detail. Is it related to what happened in the past? Tan Xiao's mind moved and he asked. That's right, said Song Guanghui. It's another company that caused us to suffer miserably. That company and this Sui company are both controlled by the same family. It's called House Dolan. How come I've never heard of this family? Tan Xiao frowned. Some families in this world are well known. But there are also some families that hide in the dark and control a lot of wealth and power, said Song Guanghui. House Dolan is a family that hides in the dark and manipulates some businesses. We haven't found this family's land so far, but we've secretly investigated some forces controlled by this family. If the people who attacked my men are really from this Sui company, Uncle Song, I'm afraid this House Dolan is much more powerful than we imagined, said Tan Xiao. Those genetic warriors are very strong and even my powerful men were seriously injured by them. You want me to help you find out the identity of the people who attacked you and confirm if they're from this Sui company, right? Asked Song Guanghui. That's right, answered Tan Xiao. I'll arrange it right away. Just wait for my news with a peace of mind, said Song Guanghui. Uncle Song, you must not act rashly once you find out that the Sui company's people are in Saipan, said Tan Xiao. Notify me and I'll rush there immediately. Don't worry. Your men are no match for them, so I naturally won't smash an egg against a rock, said Song Guanghui. Tan Xiao felt relieved after hearing it. After hanging up the phone, he thought for a while and decided to rush to Saipan at once. Regardless of whether the people who attacked Jin Shi were from the Sui company or not, those who dared to be enemies with the Tang sect must pay a huge price. Of course, if they were from the Esli company, then it would be a new and old enmity added together, and he would have to settle the score with them. This time, Tan Xiao didn't bring many people with him, but all of them were elites of the Tang sect. Not only did he bring Tang Guang and Tang En, but he also brought Mo Ao, Hao Lei, Kawako Yamamoto, and Tang 28. Half a day later, a group of 7 people appeared at the port of Saipan. Tom Reggie, who had received the news in advance, personally came to pick them up. On the SUVs heading to the Lao Bei resort, Tan Xiao leaned back on the seat with a thoughtful look in his eyes and asked, "Has Uncle Song's official appointment been issued yet?" "It was issued 2 days ago," said Tom Reggie. "He's now the highest-ranking officer in Saipan. His men have all been cleaned up, and there won't be any impact left." Tang Xiao slowly nodded and said, "You can put down whatever you're doing after you're done with this issue. There are some things you need to do, though." "What do you want me to do, boss?" asked Tom Reggie hurriedly. "Do you still remember Spectre and the others?" asked Tan Xiao. "Those people I rescued from prison?" "I do." Tom Reggie nodded. "I need you to mingle with them and observe their situation," said Tan Xiao. "Pick some reliable people in secret, and form a temporary organization. The number doesn't need to be too many. 50 people should be enough." "What kind of organization, boss?" asked Tom Reggie. "What kind of organization will it be mainly responsible for? All of you are experts who have gone through fire and water on the battlefield. You have rich combat experience and killing skills," said Tan Xiao. "It's time for some of the children I've trained to see blood. Hence, your task is to lead these children and form small teams. You're to go wherever there's a war in the world. I'll follow your arrangement, boss." Tom Reggie nodded. "But you don't have to worry about this matter," said Tan Xiao. "I'll give you special training and teach you some cultivation techniques to further enhance your strength. This way, you can guarantee that you'll be able to live longer on the battlefield." "Thank you, boss. I'll do my best to complete this task," said Tom Reggie excitedly. At noon, Tan Xiao saw Song Guanghui, who had secretly rushed to the Lao Bei resort. Song Guanghui didn't bring anyone with him this time, only a few of his confidants. Inside the villa, just as the 2 men sat face to face, Song Guanghui spoke. "I'm afraid the investigation won't be easy, Tan Xiao. There are a lot of strangers in Saipan now. Those people belong to various forces, and there are no lack of powerful characters among them." "Which of the top 3 organizations are still in Saipan?" asked Tan Xiao. "The Stygian Club," answered Song Guanghui. Tan Xiao furrowed his brows and sneered. "I've killed a lot of people from the Stygian Club, but I didn't expect that they still haven't given up. As a matter of fact, I've been wanting to clean up this organization for a long time, but I just felt that the time wasn't ripe yet. However, since they still have people here, I'll get rid of them." "Don't take it lightly," said Song Guanghui hurriedly. "According to the people I sent to investigate, there are a lot of members of the Stygian Club in Jingmen Island, nearly 100 of them. Some of them are erratic, appearing and disappearing mysteriously from time to time. It's not easy to deal with them. Besides, you'll be easily discovered by other forces once you bring your men to deal with the Stygian Club's people." "Don't worry, Uncle Song," said Tan Xiao. "I won't act easily if there's no good opportunity. The most important thing now is to investigate whether there are any Sui people in Jingmen Island. If there are, we'll collect some interest from them. I'll send my men to investigate as much as I can." Song Guanghui forced a smile. "Also, tell Tom Reggie to investigate this matter. Some places that are difficult for my men to investigate can be easily investigated by his men. However, Tom Reggie has a rival in Saipan. If possible, you'd better help him completely control the underground forces in Saipan." Chapter 1060. Tan Xiao was well aware of Tom Reggie's situation in Saipan. Originally, the force under his control wasn't very big. It wasn't even in the top 3 among the underground forces in Saipan. It was only after Song Guanghui took the power recently that Tom Reggie seized the opportunity to annex several small forces, and grew a lot stronger. 3 days. Tan Xiao raised 3 fingers and said, "Tom Reggie will become the leader of Saipan's underground forces in 3 days at most. Those who submit to me will prosper, while those who oppose me will perish. Uncle Song, you've become the most powerful official in Saipan, so the underground forces must be controlled by our people. Song Guanghui was shaken inwardly and hesitantly said, I don't doubt your strength, Tan Xiao. It's just that 3 days is too short, no? The 3 strongest underground forces in Saipan are inextricably linked with some underground forces in other countries, especially the Raven Gale. I heard that they have a deep relationship with the Stygian Club. Or rather, the Raven Gale is very likely one of the Stygian Club's branches. The Raven Gale? Tan Xiao squinted his eyes and smilingly said, Uncle Song, even if the Raven Gale is the Stygian Club's headquarters, I can completely destroy it if I want to and pay some price. Don't worry. I never fight a battle unprepared. I'll investigate the Raven Gale's strength before I act. Song Guanghui nodded silently and said, The Golden Cauldron organization and the speeder won't pose much of a threat as long as the Raven Gale is eliminated. The one you must pay attention to is the speeder's boss, Jameson. This guy is ruthless and powerful. Rumors have it that he has a close relationship with many drug lords and arms dealers. I heard some things about the speeder from Au. Tan Xiao nodded. No one is to be feared in the face of absolute power. Song Guanghui recalled Tan Xiao's identity and immediately stopped talking about this topic. He chatted with Tan Xiao about something else, and then quietly left the Lao Bei resort. Late at night, Tan Xiao received a call from Tom Reggie and got 2 important news. The speeder's HQ was currently besieged by a large number of experts from the Raven Gale, and was now in a bitter struggle. A group of mysterious people from other countries had arrived at the Golden Cauldron organization half an hour ago. An undercurrent is surging. When Tan Xiao hung up the phone and appeared outside the gate of the villa, a few figures silently appeared behind Tan Xiao. When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. If my guess is correct, tonight is the day of harvest. Get ready. Cooperate with Tom Reggie's men and stir up the waters of Saipan's underground forces. There's no need to go through so much trouble, Grand Master, said Tang Guang smilingly. Let's just destroy the other underground forces in Saipan. Tan Xiao glanced at him and lightly said, It's good to have confidence, but never underestimate anyone. None of us know the close relationship between the underground forces in Saipan and some huge organizations in other countries, nor do we know how powerful the enemy we're about to face is. So before you do anything, you have to be clear about the enemy's strength. You can't be precise, but you have to have a rough idea. The smile on Tang Guang's face froze. After a while he said with a bit of shame, I was too careless, Grand Master. You're still young and some of your thoughts and styles are still immature, said Tan Xiao with a faint smile. You'll be able to see through many problems after you gain more experience in the future. Young? Tang Guang looked at Tan Xiao with a strange expression. Even Mo Ao and the others had a strange expression on their faces. Seeing that Tan Xiao looked like he was in his early 20s, they couldn't help but mutter inwardly. Creak, 4 black SUVs stopped in front of the villa. As the doors of the 4 cars opened, the driver of the SUV in the front strode to Tan Xiao and respectfully said, Mr. Tang, the boss told us to pick you up. Get there as fast as you can, said Tan Xiao. Understood. As everyone got on the car, the 4 black SUVs quickly left the Lao Bei resort. In a hotel building a few hundred meters away from them, a bald man received a report from his subordinate and immediately left with 4 strong men. Not long after the 4 black SUVs left the Lao Bei resort's gate, several Hummer SUVs roared and chased after them. Speed up. In one of the Hummers, the bald man licked his lips and ordered in a deep voice with a chilling glint in his eyes. The strong man driving the Hummer stepped on the accelerator and asked, Are you sure those people in the front are heading to the speeder's HQ, boss? Recently, Tom Reggie's movements had been very big, and he had already eliminated several forces. Could it be that he really dares to take advantage of the losses we've suffered after besieging the speeder to attack us? Tom Reggie is an ambitious man, sneered the bald man. He betrayed his former boss and recently hooked up with that man in power. There's nothing a man like him can't do. We just need to keep an eye on him. As long as those cars are heading toward the speeder's HQ, we can report to the big boss once they arrive near the Baimu Sun building. A few minutes later, The speed of the 4 SUVs gradually slowed down. On the one hand, the traffic ahead was a bit congested, and on the other hand, there was someone tailing them. Grandmaster, it's about 90 meters ahead. Tang Guang, who used to be good at using a sniper rifle, observed the cars behind and reported in a low voice. A smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth. He took out 3 silver needles from his interspatial ring, and used his mental power to control them to pass through the gap in the window, and quickly shot the Hummer SUVs behind them. Bam bam bam. The 3 silver needles accurately hit the front wheels of the 3 Hummer SUVs. The tires burst and the 3 cars crashed to the roadside. At this moment, Tang Guang and Mo jumped out of the car and flashed like shadows. Without being seen by anyone, they dashed toward the scene of the accident behind them. Stop the car on the roadside ahead. After saying that, Tan Xiu slowly closed his eyes. Nowadays, crooks and honest folk were mixed together in Saipan, and undercurrents were surging. He couldn't determine which force the people tailing them belonged to, but he was very satisfied with the situation in this chaotic place. Only in the chaos could he take advantage of the situation and reap benefits to achieve his goal. At the rear, Tang Guang and Mo appeared next to the 3 Hummers lightning fast and bombarded the heads of the people who came out of the cars with their fists, directly knocking them out. With the cover of the 3 cars, Tang Guang reached out and grabbed the neck of a burly man and quickly disappeared nearby. In a remote place nearby, Mo slapped the burly man's face. As he slowly woke up, a dagger was placed on his neck. With a murderous look on his face, Mo asked, "Tell me, which force do you belong to? Why are you tailing us?" The dizzy burly man raised his head and suddenly felt a chill on his neck. When he saw Mo's murderous eyes, his whole body instantly turned cold and intense fear filled his heart. Such a look could only be seen by a real ruthless character who had killed people. He himself had also killed people and had contact with countless outlaws, so he was no stranger to it. At this moment, he seemed to feel the greeting of the Grim Reaper. Although he used to think that he wasn't afraid of death, he was still afraid now that he was in a desperate situation. His lips squirmed a few times and he said, "Ravengale. The Ravengale should be attacking the Speeder's HQ now, so why are you tailing us?" asked Mo again. "Don't tell me you also want to get rid of Tom Reggie after getting rid of the Speeder? You're not Tom Reggie's men." The burly man stared blankly and was surprised. "Nope," sneered Mo. "We seem to have made a mistake," said the burly man helplessly. "We're tailing Tom Reggie's car, and we don't know who's in it. As a matter of fact, our Ravengale doesn't want to get rid of Tom Reggie since he has a very close relationship with that big shot in Jingmen Island. Our big boss is just worried that Tom Reggie will bring his men to make trouble while we're attacking the Speeder." Mo nodded and knocked him out with a punch. Then, he quickly returned to the car with Tang Guang and reported the situation to Tan Xiu. Then he said, "We didn't kill them. We just knocked them out. They're just small fries, so we just knocked them out." Tan Xiu nodded. "Let's go. Let's hurry to the Speeder's HQ. I want to see how much the Ravengale will pay to annihilate the Speeder." 20 minutes later, Tan Xiu met Tom Reggie in a building near the Speeder's HQ. At the moment, Tom Reggie's expression was very interesting as he reported, "The Speeder has heavy weapons. Even though the Ravengale's men are very strong, with several snipers and assaulters among them, all of whom are top-notch, coupled with the strong attacks from some non-human powerhouses, they still couldn't break the Speeder's last line of defense. Boss, the Speeder has some very powerful people. They're simply non-human." Tan Xiu took the binoculars handed to him and walked to the window to observe while asking, "What kind of non-human beings can shock you?" "They're just like Superman." Tom Reggie forced a wry smile and said, "I saw a sniper bullet hit a guy's heart with my own eyes. Yet he was only injured and wasn't killed directly. He even directly counterattacked and killed several experts of the Ravengale." "Superman?" Tan Xiu observed through the binoculars and quickly found figures constantly flashing in the Speeder's last line of defense. They were using firearms to counterattack, and even cold weapons to kill the enemy. Genetic warriors? Tan Xiu immediately recognized these people after a few glances. It was because they were very strong. Some of them were genetic warriors with hairy bodies that looked like humanoid beasts. Tom Reggie, what are their respective losses? Asked Tanshio while observing. Chapter 1061. According to my observation, the speeder has suffered heavy losses, especially not long after they started fighting. The Ravengale's people took advantage of the speeder being caught off guard and killed nearly half of their men, said Tom Reggie. However, the Ravengale also suffered a lot of losses due to the participation of those non-human experts. After observing for a few minutes, Tanshio put down the binoculars and said, if the speeder doesn't get any reinforcements, their last line of defense will be breached in 10 minutes at most and all of them will be killed. The Ravengale has a lot of experts, and many of them haven't joined the fight yet. If my guess is correct, those people are experts from the Stygian Club. The Stygian Club? Although Tom Reggie had already guessed it, he was still slightly shocked to hear it from Tanshio's mouth. He secretly imagined that without Tanshio's help, he and his men would be slaughtered in less than 10 minutes if the Ravengale launched an attack on him and his men. A chill ran down his spine. Tom Reggie shivered and looked at Tanshio with a bit of awe. Then he said in a low voice, are we just going to watch the show today, boss? Or are we just going to participate in it? If my guess is correct, the Ravengale's next target is the Golden Cauldron after removing the speeder. Besides, I'm afraid that the Golden Cauldron won't be able to resist the Ravengale's power, and will eventually be annihilated. This is a God-given opportunity, so how can we just stay here and watch the show? Tanshio calmly replied. But there's something we need to do before we act. Tom Reggie's spirit was shaken and he immediately asked, what are we going to do? Tanshio shifted to Tang Guang and the others and indifferently said, Tang 28, you stay here. The rest of you go and pull out the eyes of all the forces in the surroundings. I hope that no other forces will find out what we're going to do tonight. Understood. Tang Guang, Moao, Haolei, and Kawako Yamamoto complied and instantly disappeared from the room. Their speed was so fast that Tom Reggie's men's complexion greatly changed and horror could be seen in their eyes. In a place they couldn't see, the air suddenly fluctuated a bit as Tangin, who was hiding in the dark, quickly left. A surprised look appeared in Tom Reggie's eyes as he asked, Boss, you said that there are spies from other forces around? I brought a lot of people with me this time. Why didn't I notice anything? Tanshio sneered and said, you didn't notice it because your men are too weak. At this moment, the intelligence personnel of at least 3 forces are not only watching the headquarters of the speeder gang, but also our location. If someone harbors ill intentions, I'm afraid that you and your men will be easily killed. Tom Reggie's pupils contracted, and a horrified look appeared on his face. He didn't question Tanshio's words because he knew Tanshio's ability. But never in his wildest dreams did he expect that there would be intelligence agents from so many forces monitoring him. Boss. Tom Reggie opened his mouth, but was interrupted by Tanshio. A faint smile appeared on Tanshio's face as he lightly smiled and said, I know what you want to say. Just keep your words to yourself. The spies from the other forces in the surroundings have already been cleaned up. They will be removed in 10 minutes at most. Inform your men to be ready for battle at any time. Once the Ravengale breaks the speeder's last line of defense, we'll strike. Understood. Tom Reggie immediately walked out of the room with a solemn expression. The battle at the speeder's HQ was very fierce. Not only did both sides use heavy weapons, but they also sent a large number of experts into the fight. Dozens of people from both sides had died in just a short time since he arrived here. Inside the football field-sized manor, nearly 100 armed forces of the Ravengale were constantly attacking the innermost 4-story building. The windows of the 4-story building were constantly spitting out flaming snakes, forming a terrifying crossfire net that blocked the enemy's attack routes. In the hall on the first floor, a cold light flashed in the eyes of the speeder's boss, Jameson. He fiercely smashed his mobile to pieces and tore a few buttons on his shirt. He then shouted while holding a submachine gun, all the evacuation routes have been blocked. Our chances of escaping are 0. Brothers, the reinforcements will arrive as long as we can hold on for an hour. Kill them all. Once the last line of defense is breached, we'll die today. Kill. Tens of stalwart men in the hall kept pulling the trigger, aiming at the enemies outside who were trying to rush over. More than 20 mysterious men in black exercise suits and black masks were quietly sitting cross-legged in the innermost corner, seemingly unaware of the danger of the hail of bullets. The ferocious-looking Jameson hid in the corner and glanced at the more than 20 men from time to time. His men had suffered heavy losses, with no more than 50 of them still alive. But these more than 20 men were his stabilizing force. He knew that as long as they were here, the reinforcements would arrive in time. As long as these men took action, let alone delaying for an hour, even delaying for a day or two wouldn't be a problem. Time ticked by, second by second. The number of casualties on both sides of the Ravengale and the speeder kept increasing. Several times, the Ravengale's last line of defense was nearly breached due to the participation of some of the divergent creatures. Inject. Jameson looked at one of his trusted subordinates lying in a pool of blood a dozen meters away with red and white liquid flowing out of a single hole on his forehead. Jameson's face instantly turned ashen, and a ruthless look appeared in his eyes. He quickly squatted in the corner and opened a black suitcase. He took out a tube of blue liquid from the inside, extracted it with a syringe, and quickly injected it into his right arm. Boo-hoo! A roar similar to that of a wild beast came from Jameson's mouth. At this moment, his face became distorted and his whole body trembled violently. Blue veins and blood vessels protruded from his body. His body began to expand at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few seconds, he had grown several times taller. In the surroundings, dozens of Jameson's subordinates were in the same situation as him. After being injected with the blue gene serum, their entire body began to transform. Their eyes flashed with a blood-red radiance, their speed became faster than before, and their strength also became stronger. After a few minutes of fighting, none of Jameson and his dozens of subordinates died. Although their injuries worsened a bit, it didn't seem to affect them in the slightest. On the contrary, more than a dozen people from the Ravengale were shot dead in a fierce charge. At this time, Jameson and his dozens of subordinates, as well as the more than 20 mysterious people sitting cross-legged in the hall on the first floor, except for 6 burly men with heavy machine guns who continued to stand guard, the others had already arrived at a spacious room on the 3rd floor. However, the more than 20 mysterious people wearing masks were still sitting cross-legged in the corner. Whoosh! 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 3 lightning-like figures shot over from afar, and in the blink of an eye, they were already at the bottom of the building. Their speed was extremely fast, like 3 wisps of green smoke, and 3 grenades were thrown into the window as soon as they appeared. Boom, boom, boom. The violent explosion led to the deaths of the street racer gang members. However, at that moment, the 2 mysterious men wearing black masks suddenly disappeared from where they stood. As they drew their crescent blades from the scabbards on their backs, layers of blades slashed at the window. You're overestimating yourselves. The burly man in a black robe with a head full of white hair let out a disdainful snort, and instantly dashed into the window, easily dodging the masked man's saber. After throwing out a bamboo tube, the sharp longsword instantly formed a sky full of sword shadows that attacked the masked man. At the same time, the sword shadows also split the bamboo tube thrown by the masked man. Squeak, squeak. The 2 centipedes let out strange hissing sounds. The most surprising thing was that on the backs of the 2 centipedes, thin as cicada wings appeared. As they flapped their wings, they instantly landed on the masked man's shoulder. Then they accurately bit the masked man's neck. Damn it! The masked man roared angrily. His black-gloved hand instantly grabbed the 2 centipedes. The moment he crushed them, terrifying toxins quickly drilled into his body through the wound on his neck. In just a few breaths, the toxins had invaded his heart meridians, causing his burly body to crash to the ground. As for the other man wearing a black mask, he was also killed by the other 2 black-robed, burly men with great strength. Kill them! Jameson's eyes were bloodshot as he pointed at the 3 black-robed men and roared. In an instant, dozens of strong men abandoned the guns in their hands and pounced on the 3 men like hungry tigers. They were bare-handed, but the whistling wind from their fists was very loud. If a martial arts grandmaster were here at this time, he or she would also be frightened by the speed of their fists. Your men are no match for them. A light voice drifted into Jameson's ears. Among the more than 20 mysterious people sitting cross-legged, an old man with no hair on his head holding a string of rosary beads floated out like a ghost. Before his voice faded away, he had already appeared in the middle of the dozens of strong men. As the invisible airflow forced 5 or 6 of them away, the old man's white glove had already been imprinted on the chest of one of the black-robed men. Puff, blood splattered and formed a blood mist, but the white glove wasn't stained with the slightest bit of blood. A series of palm shadows blotted out the sky, causing the remaining 2 black-robed men's pupils to shrink. They wanted to dodge, but were shocked to find that the palm shadows followed them like a shadow and couldn't be avoided at all. How is this possible? The 2 black-robed men exclaimed at the same time. Immediately afterward, they felt as though their chests were hit by a weight of 10,000 caddies. They violently spurted blood, and were sent flying out of the window. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Chapter 1062. In a 10-story building nearby, Tan Xiao quietly observed the battle scene at the speeder's HQ with a pair of binoculars. Tang Guang, Mo Ao, and the others he sent had already cleaned up the surrounding spies. Now he just had to wait for the Ravengale and the speeder to fight to the end. Everything's ready, boss. Tom Reggie came back with 2 of his trusted men with a stern expression on his face. Tell me about the Golden Cauldron organization's situation. Tan Xiao nodded and said, we'll deal with the Golden Cauldron organization after we get rid of the Ravengale and the speeder. We must clean up all the forces in Saipan within 3 days. Tom Reggie was shaken inwardly and respectfully said, the Golden Cauldron organization's boss is called Kanaho. He came from Tea Country more than a decade ago and has now formed a huge force here after more than a decade of development. Further, according to the information I've sent people to inquire about him, Kanaho has a deep relationship with a large underground force in Tea Country. Kanaho? Tea Country? Kanaho's face flashed in Tan Xiao's mind. He immediately took out his mobile and dialed Kanaho's number. After his call was picked up, he straightforwardly asked, I need to know something from you, Kanaho. Please speak, Mr. Tang. Kanaho's respectful voice came out of the phone. I'm in Saipan now. I learned that the leader of an underground force here is called Kanaho. I want to know if you have any special relationship with him? Asked Tan Xiao. Kanaja is my younger brother, Mr. Tang, said Kanaja respectfully. He committed a very big crime here more than a decade ago, and even I couldn't guarantee his safety. That's why I secretly sent him out of Tea Country, and sent some people to help him in secret, eventually cultivating his own force in Saipan. That's right, there's been some serious chaos in Saipan recently, so I just sent a group of people to help him. I'll send someone to send you a gift a few days later, said Tan Xiao. I hope you can inform your brother to take his men and leave Saipan immediately. Saipan's underground forces will need to be integrated in the future. Kanaja's mind was moved and he said, I'll contact my younger brother immediately, Mr. Tang. But can you tell me who's the leader of Saipan's underground forces after the integration? Don't tell me you. You don't need to make wild guesses, said Tan Xiao. I can tell you clearly that the leader of Saipan's underground forces after the integration will be Tom Reggie. He's my man, and for special reasons, I have to control the entire Saipan. Everything? Kanaja's heart skipped a beat. He vaguely sensed some hidden meaning in Tan Xiao's words. One must know that it wasn't something that could be done by notifying the entire underground forces in Saipan. Unless the big shot in power in Saipan was also one of Tang Xiao's people, that powerful figure in the officialdom. Thinking up to this point, Kanaja immediately said, Mr. Tang, since it's your man who wants to integrate Saipan, do you want me to inform my younger brother and let him command all his men? As far as I know, he still has a lot of men in Saipan, and I've also sent a group of them to help you. If that's the case, then I won't be polite, said Tan Xiao after pondering for a moment. I'll compensate your brother's men no matter how big the loss is. I'll listen to your arrangement, Mr. Tang, said Kanaja with a smile. After hanging up, Tan Xiao looked at Tom Reggie and said, I've figured out the issue with the Golden Cauldron organization. It's a force established by my friend's younger brother. I'll hand over all the men of the Golden Cauldron organization to you later. Use as many of them as possible when fighting the enemy. Disbelief was written all over Tom Reggie's face. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect that Tang Xiu would have such remarkable abilities. He even had such a close friend in Country Tea, and could even directly influence the strength of Saipan's side. He was even able to make the Golden Cauldron organization work for him. At this moment, what he admired was no longer Tan Xiu's strength, nor was it Tan Xiu's large number of powerful subordinates or the network Tan Xiu had. However, he was still a bit worried about the Golden Cauldron organization's people. So he asked in a low voice, "Boss, the Golden Cauldron organization isn't our own people. Won't it be troublesome to mobilize them? Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not questioning your ability, but Kanaho is suspicious and ruthless. I'm afraid." Kanaho's eldest brother is also the leader of the largest underground force in Bangkok in Tea Country. He's perfectly aware of the consequences of pretending to be loyal to me, but going against me in private, interrupted Tang Xiu with a smile. That's why they won't dare to destroy our plan, even if they have 100 guts. I want you to use as many of Kanaho's men as possible, because you must have a large number of confidants when you become the leader of Saipan's underground force in the future. The less you lose in tonight's fight, the easier it will be for you to control them in the future. Tom Reggie secretly sighed at Tan Xiu's wisdom and replied respectfully, "I understand what you mean, boss. You can rest assured that I know what to do." "Wait for the news." Tan Xiu nodded. "I'm sure it won't take long for Kanaho to bring his men here. When the time comes, you just have to order his people around." "Understood." Tom Reggie replied with a face full of admiration. 20 minutes later, as the battle in the Speeder's HQ reached its climax, Tang Xiu suddenly received a call from Song Guanghui. After listening to the content, a chilling light flashed in his eyes and he said, "I got it, Uncle Song." He hung up the phone. Tan Xiu then turned to look at Tom Reggie and said in a deep voice, "Inform them not to rush into action. I just got the news that a group of mysterious people with extraordinary strength is coming here. If they are not from the Ravengale, then they should be the Speeder's reinforcements." "How long will it take for them to get here, boss?" asked Tom Reggie hurriedly. "About 20 minutes, answered Tan Xiu. Tom Reggie pondered for a moment and immediately said, "Boss, I'm afraid there will be an accident if the Golden Cauldron's people bump into them on their way here. Do you want me to contact Kanaho directly now? Should I arrange everything in advance?" "It's a good idea to contact him in advance." Tan Xiu nodded. 4 to 5 kilometers away, in a building that was more than 10 stories tall, there were dozens of mysterious people dressed in black, with masks covering their faces. They were lined up in a neat line, emitting a thick murderous aura. In front of these dozens of people was an old man with a scar on his mouth. With a satisfied smile on his face, he was watching the battle scene in the Speeder's HQ through a high-powered telescope. "Inform Rat to get ready for battle. Once the Speeder's people are annihilated, they'll immediately attack the Ravengale's people. We were tricked to wander around the Pacific Ocean for so many days. Not only did we gain nothing, but we were also tricked by those Stygian club bastards. This time their branch in Saipan must be uprooted." The old man slightly turned his head and said to the burly man in a black night suit beside him, "I'll inform them right away." A tall and sturdy man in a black suit said respectfully. The old man gently waved his hand. A python as thick as a bucket silently slithered over from nearby and quickly wrapped around his waist along his right leg. As the old man gently stroked the python's head, a cold and gloomy killing intent slowly accumulated in his smile. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. The battle between the Ravengale and the Speeder had alarmed many forces, especially since the Celestial Wizard clan had spread the news that there were treasures in the Pacific Ocean some time ago, attracting cultivators from all over the world to join them. Therefore, some forces who stayed near Saipan were clearly aware that this place had turned into a pool of muddy water. All of them were wondering if they could make a fortune here to make up for the losses caused by the false news. At the Speeder's HQ, inside the spacious building, the Speeder's boss, Jameson, was drenched in blood. It was the blood of his enemies, as well as the blood from his wounds. The last line of defense was broken, leading to his remaining dozens of confidants fighting until only 4 or 5 of them were left. More than 20 mysterious masked men, who had been motionless before, also got up and fought the enemy. Jameson, you're doomed to die today even if you have the help of experts from St. James. It's better for you to join our Stygian club. Maybe you can save your life and even get a reward from us in the future. A middle-aged man wearing a red cloak and golden gloves stood in the air outside the building and looked at Jameson, who was bathed in blood, with a faint smile on his face. Although his mouth was advising him to surrender, there was a mocking look on his face. Jameson, who had just slashed a powerful enemy, flashed to the corner and used his weapon to protect his body. Then he angrily shouted, "You can be arrogant for now, Vara. But when our reinforcements arrive, this daddy will definitely twist your head off and use it as a urinal." Vara, who was wearing a red cloak and golden gloves, was the leader of the Stygian Club's branch in Saipan. With a smirk on the corner of his mouth, he contemptuously looked at Jameson and said, "The reinforcements you mentioned should be those people from St. James, right? Haven't you noticed that they haven't contacted you for 2 days? Else, why would we be so arrogant to besiege your speeder's HQ?" A chilling light flashed in Jameson's eyes. Just as he was about to speak, an old man wearing a black mask suddenly appeared at the window. His tall and straight body slightly trembled, and his eyes were filled with intense killing intent as he asked, "Was it your Stygian Club's people who killed those experts from St. James 2 days ago? Was it your Stygian Club's people who left the bloodthirsty badge? What a fast speed." Chapter 1063. Vera's complexion slightly changed, and he instantly retreated more than 10 meters. He then stood in the air and stared at the old man, proudly saying, "That's right. It's our Stygian Club's doing. What do you think? You're just a bunch of clowns trying to control the underground forces in Saipan. That's just a pipe dream. Remember, we're going to eliminate your stronghold in Saipan today. It won't be long before a large number of our Stygian Club's people will uproot your strongholds all over the world and raze your lair to the ground. You fucking bastards." The old man wearing a black mask instantly appeared in front of Varela, and a pair of white gloves frantically pressed against Varela's chest. As Varela let out a heart-wrenching scream, a golden thread appeared in his hand out of thin air, and instantly wrapped around Varela's neck. The moment he rose into the air, he lifted Varela up 100 meters into the sky. He casually tore off the mask on his face, revealing an old and grief-stricken face as he roared into the sky, "Stygian Club's villains. This old man's only son actually died a tragic death in your hands. From today onwards, this old man won't rest until one of us is dead, not until one of us is dead." Dozens of Stygian Club's experts immediately soared up to the sky upon seeing Vera being hung up to a height of 100 meters. Several of them moved lightning fast and appeared in front of the old man nearly in the blink of an eye. They used a joint attack technique to constantly bombard the old man, trying to save Vera, who was about to be hanged to death. "Here you go." The old man moved his hands and the golden thread immediately cut Vera's neck. He then fiercely kicked Vera's head, sending the bloody head into the hands of one of the Stygian Club's experts. "Kill him." Several people's attacks turned fiercer. In just a few seconds, the old man had nowhere to hide as bloody wounds kept appearing on his body. Fortunately, he was fast enough and was able to avoid getting hit in his vital spots every time. At this time, in the distance, more than a dozen cars rushed into the manor of the Speeder Union's HQ. As the doors were pushed open, figures flashed lightning fast and instantly rushed to the building. 2 figures exuding the strongest aura directly soared up and instantly appeared beside the besieged old man. "You're finally here. Kill these Stygian Club bastards and avenge my son." The old man looked ecstatic and shouted loudly, "Kill! Kill!" The 2 of them didn't speak much, but their fierce attacks immediately brought a lot of pressure to the Stygian Club's powerhouses. In the building, the moment Jameson's reinforcements arrived, he suddenly felt the pressure in front of him lightened. One of the 4 Stygian Club experts besieging him was killed in an instant, while the other 3 were forced to retreat. "Kill!" Jameson brandished his long saber and pounced forward like a wolf. The fact that he could become the leader of the biker gang, and was assigned to Saipan by a big boss was proof of his ability and courage. Puffed! Suddenly, a flying dagger flew like lightning and pierced Jameson's left chest, piercing through his heart. The flying dagger flew out from his back. How is this possible? Jameson retreated in horror. He looked down at the blood gushing out of his chest, and his whole body instantly turned cold. He had been very, very careful, and the reinforcements he had been waiting for had already arrived. How could he suffer such a fatal attack at this time? His gaze moved up with great difficulty. When he saw the grinning white-haired old man in front of him, it was as if he had seen the smile of the Grim Reaper. It's Iron Raven from the Stygian Club. Jameson showed a look of despair. He had already recognized the old man in front of him. Even before he died, he realized that all the members of the biker gang were in trouble today. Even if there were many reinforcements, he was afraid that everyone who came would die tragically today. Because he was Iron Raven. Even if Iron Raven was the only one who had raided the Speeder Gang's headquarters, he was afraid that he would be able to kill all the people here. Iron Raven let out a few strange laughs and swept the silver hook spear in his hand, killing 2 experts of St. James who pounced on him. Immediately after, his figure flickered erratically, appearing near Jameson's men and the members of St. James' company. Every time he attacked, he would reap a life. Even experts who had been injected with genetic drugs couldn't escape unscathed. Run. An expert of St. James whose strength was comparable to a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator, immediately shouted after recognizing Iron Raven's identity. At this moment, his figure had already dashed outside, and found that his companions were besieging several experts of the Stygian Club. He immediately shouted, "Abandon the Speeder Gang and run! Run!" The old man in the air and the 2 powerful experts froze for a moment. It was at this moment that the Stygian Club's experts who were attacked by them seemed to have seized the opportunity. They didn't attack them, but instantly fled towards the direction of the building. The old man looked flustered and exasperated as he roared, "William, you fucking bastard! My son died in the hands of the Stygian Club. We're stronger than them now, so why do we have to run for our lives? Believe it or not, I'll kill you directly." After hearing the old man's roar, the expert known as William immediately showed a bitter look. He didn't want to run away, but who told the Stygian Club to send Iron Raven, that damned butcher? It must be noted that Iron Raven was the commander of the Stygian Club's assassins. Even the gold-ranked assassins had to obey his orders. As for his strength, he was definitely among the top 10 in the Stygian Club. Run! He didn't bother to explain and fled to the distance lightning fast. Puff! A flying knife was as fast as a meteor and pierced his back in the blink of an eye. As he screamed, a clown mask appeared on the Iron Raven's face. A lightning-fast figure appeared behind him. A scimitar that he had picked up circled around William's neck at high speed. The old man and the 2 experts from St. James who were tens of meters away immediately looked horrified upon seeing William's fate. They finally understood why William shouted for them to run. It was because that guy wearing a clown mask was too terrifying. They all knew that William's strength was not inferior to theirs. But now they had been killed so easily. Run. The old man and the 2 experts from St. James fled to the distance one after another. They didn't even care about their own people. Iron Raven let out a strange laugh and dashed toward the old man lightning fast. He threw the silver hook spear in his hand and instantly pierced the old man's neck. After killing the old man, the silver hook spear actually returned to his hand. Stop them! Iron Raven let out a strange cry. 2 middle-aged men in golden robes suddenly appeared in front of the 2 experts from St. James. Gold-ranked assassins? Damn. He's the Stygian Club's expert who can command a gold-ranked assassin. He's Iron Raven. The 2 experts from St. James Corporation had a look of despair on their faces. They tried their best to force back the 2 gold medal assassins, but the result disappointed them. They discovered that the current gold medal assassins were no longer comparable to the previous gold medal assassins. They were very powerful, so powerful that they were almost on par with them. 4+ kilometers away. In the building, the old man with a scar on his mouth put down the high-powered binoculars in his hand and shouted, "It's about time. Inform our men to immediately surround and kill those Stygian Club bastards. Remember, the more you kill, the more generous the reward will be after the battle. Understood. Dozens of experts in black suits rushed outside in an instant. The stalwart man also quickly took out his mobile and dialed a cell number. Move. In the vicinity of the street racer gang. Tan Xiao stood by the window and calmly watched the fight in midair. He didn't expect that the fight between the underground forces in Saipan would draw out so many experts. Not to mention those people before, just the old man who appeared at the back was likely no weaker than a golden core stage cultivator. He might even be comparable to a mid-stage golden core stage cultivator. It's getting more and more interesting. Just as Tan Xiao was about to give the order to attack, his expression slightly moved all of a sudden. He instantly released his spiritual sense, and then retracted it in an instant. Tom Reggie had long been waiting for the end of the fight between the Ravengale and the street racer gang. Upon hearing Tan Xiao's words, he immediately looked excited and hurriedly asked, "Are we going to attack now, boss?" A smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiao's mouth. He shook his head and said, "It's going to be very lively tonight. Besides, I was careless and didn't notice some things in advance. Let's just wait. The real battle has just begun. Tonight is destined to be a bloody day with corpses everywhere." "I don't understand what you mean, boss." Tom Reggie was confused. The Ravengale has broken the last line of defense of the street racer gang, and even their reinforcements are being slaughtered. All the street racer gang members will be killed in a few minutes at most. It can be said that this is the best time to attack. Why haven't you issued the order to attack yet? The best time to attack. Tan Xiao sneered. "I'll give you a minute and you'll understand what I mean." Having said that, Tan Xiao no longer paid attention to Tom Reggie. He picked up the binoculars in his hand and observed the situation inside the street racer gang's HQ not far away. Although there were some bunkers blocking the fighting scene inside, Tan Xiao could still judge the situation inside based on the constantly flashing figures and the fighting scenes that appeared in his sight from time to time. Originally, he thought that the street racer gang would have a batch of reinforcements that would change the outcome of the fight between the two sides. He didn't expect that the Ravengale would have such a powerful expert that would eventually affect the entire battle situation. "Sorry, brothers and sisters. I've got a bad cold and cough, so I've kept you waiting for a long time." Chapter 1064. A bit of helplessness could be seen on Tom Reggie's face because the Ravengale and the speeder had reached the final stage of the battle. The Ravengale would suffer huge losses if they were to act now, and it was likely that they would be wiped out here. But he couldn't figure out why Tan Xiao didn't give the order and delayed the best opportunity. It must be noted that once the Ravengale's experts killed all the speeder's members, they would have time to breathe. Even if they could only adjust themselves for a short period of time, it would be more difficult for them to kill them again. He didn't dare to disobey Tan Xiao's order, so he could only helplessly grab the binoculars again to observe the battle situation in the speeder's HQ. Suddenly, his expression slightly changed and a bit aghast was revealed on his face. He put down the binoculars and quickly glanced at Tan Xiao. He then used the binoculars again to observe. He saw that some flat places in the speeder's HQ, the sewer entrance, were pushed open, and figures flashed lightning fast from inside. Shortly after, never in his wildest dreams did Tom Reggie expect that a group of lightning-fast silhouettes would dash over the top of the building where they were located. All of them were dressed in black and carried long blades on their backs. Their speed was as fast as lightning, and it was obvious that they were experts with astonishing strength. In the air, Iron Raven had just killed the two St. James experts and was about to enter the speeder's HQ with the two gold-ranked assassins. But he didn't expect that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. There were a lot of experts in the surroundings, and judging from their appearance, it was obvious that they didn't come with good intentions. "Who are you?" Iron Raven's voice was particularly harsh, just like a crow's cry. It was an old man with a scar on the corner of his mouth and a bucket-like python coiled around his waist, yet it didn't affect his flight in the slightest. He appeared outside the speeder's HQ with a mocking voice. "Iron Raven, I didn't expect to see you in this tiny place like Saipan. I haven't seen you for decades, and you gave me a headache back then. It's time for us to settle our old scores today. A cold glint flashed in Iron Raven's eyes as he stared at the newcomer. Then, an ugly smile appeared on his face and he let out a strange laugh. Ah, it turns out to be the Wind Sex Demon Freak Geezer. Where's your old partner, Dao Master Poison? Tell him to come out. It's not that hard to deal with you jumping clowns. That geezer Dao Master Poison hasn't appeared for a long time. Demon Freak Geezer sneered. It's you, Dao Master of the Demon Freak Geezer. You, on the other hand, have exceeded my expectations. You're actually so much stronger than before. However, you will definitely die today, so I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you anymore. You're really a heartless person, Demon Freak Geezer, said Iron Raven with a strange smile. Don't tell me you really don't know that Dao Master Poison has long broken through that hurdle? Demon Freak, say Demon Freak, Iron Demon Freak, if see you. Demon Freak Dao Cut Demon Freak. Raven of. Master Demon Freak, if you. Iron Don me you. You of. Dao if and I cut Demon Freak. Demon Freak. Iron Raven smiled disdainfully. But when his eyes fell on the python on Demon Freak Geezer's waist, his pupils suddenly shrunk and disbelief filled his eyes as he shouted. Demon Freak Geezer, you really refined a corpse beast? Damn. I thought our Stygian Club's people are all demon kings who kill without batting an eyelid, but I didn't expect that we're worlds apart compared to you. How many people have you killed all these years? To feed your cadaveric beast? I didn't expect you to see through it. Demon Freak Geezer grinned. That's right, I did kill a lot of people, so many that I can't remember the specific number. In short, it should be more than 5 digits, no? Ha. Iron Raven. Do you know that this cadaveric beast of mine is not inferior to me? Do you think you still have a chance to live today? Iron Raven's complexion drastically changed. He turned his head and shouted in a deep voice, hurry up and kill the rest of the enemies and retreat immediately. This damn geezer is not to be trifled with. Upon hearing Iron Raven's voice, the smile on Demon Freak Geezer's face turned a bit thicker. He stroked the python's head and laughed wildly. Kill them all. Kill as many Stygian Club bastards as you can. I'm very happy to feed this Iron Raven's heart and liver to my cadaveric beast today. Therefore, the more you kill, the more rewards I will give you. Demon Freak Geezer's subordinates immediately looked excited upon hearing this. They exerted all their strength and fiercely pounced on the Stygian Club's experts. Puff, puff, puff. Demon Freak Geezer's men might not be very strong, but they were still a lot stronger than some martial arts grandmasters. Some of the Stygian Club's people were very strong, but the Ravengale Hall had many ordinary people. Many of them were besieged by Demon Freak Geezer's men, and immediately died. In the nearby building, Tom Reggie finally understood why Tan Xiao didn't order the attack. It turned out that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, and they were not the oriole. Have we become the hunters? Tom Reggie put down his binoculars and looked at Tan Xiao with worship. All the confusion in his heart vanished at this time. He could hardly imagine what the outcome would have been if Tan Xiao had ordered the attack just now. After all, other forces would eventually appear if they killed all the Ravengale Hall's people. Even if they could eliminate all the forces that appeared later, the losses on their side would increase by several times. At this moment, Tang Xiu also put down his binoculars and looked pensive. He suddenly turned to look at the few people behind him and asked, "If I give you a kind of evil pill, will you be willing to take it?" An evil pill? Tang Guang, Mo, and the others looked confused and looked at Tan Xiu. It's the blood pill. It's made from the fresh blood of the dead, and the energy left after their souls dissipated, said Tan Xiu indifferently. Taking this pill will cause one's spiritual sense to be affected by a lot of resentment from the dead. If one's willpower is not strong enough, it's very likely that one will suffer from cultivation deviation. Of course, if one can control their mind, they can get a lot of benefits. At least, the effect of a blood pill is better than dozens of spirit-amassing pills. Tang Guang, Mo, and the others exchanged dismayed glances. They were somewhat tempted, but they didn't immediately express their stance. After all, Tan Xiu said that this was an evil pill, but Tan Xiu was not an evil person. Would it cause hidden dangers in the future if they were to take this pill? Tan Xiu seemed to have seen through their thoughts and nodded. That's right. Even if one's willpower can overcome the evil thoughts after taking this blood pill, it's likely that it will leave a sequela in the future. That is, it's very easy to be invaded by evil spirits in the future cultivation. You must always be on guard against your own evil and demonic nature in your cultivation. Immortal thought for a moment and said, "We'll listen to you, sect master. We'll take the blood pill immediately if you want us to take it. We'll never take it if you don't. We believe that you won't harm us, sect master." Tan Xiu was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh as he glared at him. He shook his head and smilingly said, "You're usually so silly, but I didn't expect you to be so narrow-minded. You're throwing the ball back to me. Forget it. Each of you will take a blood pill in order to improve your cultivation further." Having said that, when Tan Xiu turned his head, he suddenly noticed that Tom Reggie also had an expectant look on his face. He immediately looked at him with a strange expression and said, "Do you also want to take the blood pill?" "Can I take it, boss?" asked Tom Reggie with a dry smile. "Of course you can, but your strength is too weak," Tan Xiu smilingly said. "Your body will explode from the huge energy if you take it directly. Well, since fate brought you here today, I'll let you take the blood pill. Don't worry, I'll protect you. I have a way to let you directly step into the ranks of cultivators and become a real cultivator." Tom Reggie's eyes lit up and his face was full of gratitude. He almost wanted to kneel and lick Tang Xiu's boots. Becoming an immortal, seeking the Tao, and becoming a true martial cultivator had been his recent dream. He had seen how powerful Tan Xiu was, as well as how powerful Mo Ao and the others were, so he also wanted to have the ability to fly in the air and kill people from thousands of meters away. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and said, "You guys continue to observe the fight, and tell everyone to hide well. Don't expose our existence before the outcome of the battle is decided. I'm going to arrange a feng shui array. Since so many experts are fighting, bleeding, and dying here, I can't let this feng shui treasure land go to waste. For cultivators, even a blade of grass or even a grain of sand can be a very important cultivation resource as long as it's used well." A blade of grass? A grain of sand? Mo Ao, Tang Guang, and the others let out hollow smiles. Their current strength was too low, so they couldn't understand Tan Xiu's idea that even a blade of grass or a grain of sand could be used as a cultivation resource. They didn't even know how to concoct pills. Even if an immortal herb was placed in front of them, they could only chew it and swallow it. Even if a precious ore was placed in their hands, they could only use it to smash it. In the air, a faint change in the airflow alerted Tan Xiu, but when he released his spiritual sense, he found that the fluctuation in the air was caused by Tang'an. A smile immediately appeared on his face. After retracting his spiritual sense, he circled around the speeder's HQ a few times and smilingly asked, "How's your progress in studying arrays recently?" Tang'an's figure appeared out of thin air and followed Tan Xiu. She respectfully replied, "My progress is okay. Whenever I encounter something I don't understand, I'll temporarily put it aside and comprehend other arrays. I'll ask Master later." Chapter 1065. Tan Xiu vigilantly observed the surrounding environment. The Speeder Union's HQ was located in a very remote location, so there were not many residents around. Except for a few high-rise buildings far away, the rest of the office buildings were the Speeder Union's turf, so he didn't need to worry about the matter being exposed tonight. The eyes of the other forces in the surroundings were nearly wiped clean, so Tan Xiu wasn't affected at all. He circled around the Speeder Union's HQ a few times, and used the environment here to determine the location to arrange the array. As he placed the jades in various hidden corners, he said to Tang'an, who was at his side, "Don't worry. You can ask me directly if you encounter any problems with arrays when you're with me later. I think I'm the best in the world when it comes to arrays, and no one is better than me." Tang'an looked hesitant, but she eventually gritted her teeth and asked, "There's something I've always wanted to ask you, Grand Master. I want to know whether you're stronger or my master. Is it because your attainments in arrays are higher, or my master's attainments in arrays are higher?" Or my master's attainments in arrays are higher? I was the one who raised Yen, so her strength is naturally inferior to mine. Tan Xiu let out a strange smile and said. Even when she reached her peak, the gap between us was still not small. Although I don't know Yen's attainments in arrays, I can tell that even the top supreme powerhouses in the immortal world can't break the ultimate array I've arranged. Tang An's expression shifted and she asked again, are supreme powerhouses very powerful in the immortal world, Grand Master? Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, even a perfected golden immortal is like a little doll in front of a supreme. Immortals who can become a supreme are those with exceedingly high abilities, and can overlook the hundreds of millions of races in the immortal world. It can be said that the highest realm for immortals is the supreme stage. As for supreme being level experts, if they take another step forward, they will ascend and become gods, entering the divine world. Is there really a god? Asked Tang An in amazement. Tan Xiu nodded and said, of course there are gods, but it's too difficult to become a god especially. Forget it, you wouldn't know even if I told you. In short, the immortal world hasn't had a supreme become a god for more than 100,000 years. Perhaps not long ago, there was a paragon who could ascend to the god realm and become a god that countless immortals looked up to. Unfortunately, what's a pity, Grand Master? Asked Tang An quickly. Also, who is that immortal? He's actually that powerful? A complicated expression appeared in Tan Xiu's eyes as he waved his hand and said, forget it. Our topic is a bit off topic. Observe how I set up the array yourself. Even if you can comprehend 1/10,000th of it, it will be of great benefit to you. Yes. Tang An's curiosity was piqued by Tan Xiu, but she was somewhat discouraged when she saw that Tan Xiu didn't want to tell her the answer. After returning to Nine Dragons Island, he decided to ask his master about it. Which immortal world supreme is it that has the potential to become a god? What's the reason that even Grand Master feels pity for him? Array. Tan Xiu was very slow in arranging the array. It wasn't that he didn't want to quickly arrange the blood core array, but the place he chose to arrange the array was 4 to 5 kilometers away from the speeder's HQ. Hence, the range of the array was very wide. Furthermore, he couldn't alert the two parties fighting in the speeder's HQ. Else, the other party would immediately stop fighting and flee in all directions. His wishful thinking would then fall through, unless he personally led his men to intercept the two parties. Finally, at the moment when the fight between the two parties in the speeder's HQ reached its climax, Tan Xiu had successfully arranged the blood core array, and only needed to activate it. Your arrangement is too mysterious, Grand Master. I can't even see through 1/10,000th of its essence. A bit of shame could be seen on Tang An's beautiful face under the bronze mask. The more I know about arrays, the more shallow I find myself. Tan Xiu chuckled. Even if my attainments in arrays have reached the acme of perfection, there are still many special arrays that even I can hardly comprehend. Remember, arrays are as vast as the ocean. You'll understand what I mean when you become an array grandmaster in the eyes of countless immortals in the future. I'll keep your words in mind, Grandmaster. Tang An nodded. Tan Xiu smiled and didn't say anything more. Tang An's figure flashed and disappeared. He then quickly returned to the building where Mo Au, Tom Reggie, and the others were staying. He could place the array eye of the entire blood core array here. Therefore, he could easily activate the blood core array at any time as long as he was in this building. Sect Master, have you finished arranging the array? Mo Au immediately asked with concern upon seeing Tan Xiu return. It's all set up, replied Tan Xiu with a faint smile. I'm just waiting for the battle between them to come to an end. Mo Au hesitated for a moment before saying, Sect Master, the array you've arranged is infinitely powerful. Why didn't you directly activate it and use it to kill both sides? Be it Mo Au or the others in the surroundings, they had all witnessed Tan Xiu's terrifying means of killing demonic beasts using arrays. Tens of thousands of demonic beasts were killed by Tan Xiu's array, so wouldn't it be easier for him to kill the 100 to 200 enemies here? Every array has a different structure and power. Tan Xiu shook his head and smilingly said, the one I just arranged is the blood core array. What I just set up was the blood pill formation. Its main purpose was to refine the blood pill. It's true that I can easily kill all the people from both sides, if I arrange an offensive array. But when I arrange the blood core array, it will lead to less blood chi and scattered soul energy, and the final refined sanguine pills won't have a strong effect. Mo immediately understood and said in a deep voice, "Rest assured, Sect Master. We can still kill all the enemies inside even if you don't use the array's power. I've observed them. Only 2 people from the 2 sides have the same strength as us. The rest are just vulnerable in our eyes." "Don't take it lightly," said Tanxiu indifferently. "Those who are killed are usually those who underestimate the enemy. In the future, even if you encounter a newborn baby, as long as they are our enemies, you must face them with the mentality of facing a formidable enemy." "Understood." Mo's expression changed, and he immediately accepted it with an open mind. Upon hearing Tanxiu's words, the others also nodded to express their understanding. At the Speeder Union's HQ, after Iron Raven and Demon Freak Geezer bombarded each other, they quickly separated. At this moment, the two had exchanged hundreds of blows. Demon Freak Geezer was very strong, but he was still lacking compared to Iron Raven. If it wasn't for the python flying around him that caused Iron Raven a lot of injuries, he would have been defeated by Iron Raven. Cough cough. Iron Raven clutched his chest. His clothes had been torn by the python's sharp teeth, and his flesh was badly mangled. As he coughed up blood, his fearful eyes fell on Demon Freak Geezer and the python. Demon Freak Geezer also had bloodstains on the corner of his mouth, but he could see that Iron Raven was even more miserable than him. If this continued, Iron Raven would soon die in the hands of him and the cadaveric beast. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. He once had to flee from Iron Raven's hands. Fortunately, he joined hands with Dao Master Poison and barely escaped. Now the tables had turned. He was suddenly reluctant to kill Iron Raven. Instead, he wanted to torture him, destroy his body, and destroy his will. He wanted Iron Raven to kneel in front of him like a dog and beg for forgiveness. "Iron Raven, I'll spare your life today if you're willing to give up your identity as the Stygian Club's assassination commander, and submit to me later. How about it?" Demon Freak Geezer grinned. Iron Raven slowly shook his head. He raised his hand to wipe off the blood on his lips, and let out a strange smile. "Do you really think you can kill me today, Demon Freak Geezer?" Was he talking in his sleep and becoming arrogant and conceited? "I may not be a match for you 2 monsters, but it's still harder than ascending to the sky for you to kill me." In an instant, a firework tube appeared in Iron Raven's hand, and a ball of fire burst out from his palm. Immediately, a resplendent firework exploded in midair. It was he who gave the order to retreat. "Retreat. Leave." The remaining dozens of Stygian Club members did their best to repel the powerful enemies besieging them, and quickly gathered together in an attempt to kill their way out. Demon Freak Geezer disdainfully smiled and shouted, "Activate the Sky Origin flag." In an instant, 8 powerful cultivators dressed in black and brimming with murderous intent shot out from all directions. All of them were in the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm. As their figures flickered, they raised 8 black flags in the span of a few breaths. Buzz! A feng shui array was instantly formed within a 5-kilometer radius. Black energy shields appeared and shrouded the entire Speeder's HQ. Even hundreds of meters in the air, black energy shields also appeared, while the energy from all directions crazily converged toward the 8 black flags. Iron Raven's expression drastically changed, and he looked around in disbelief. His eyes swept over the 8 black flags and he shouted, "How could Dao Master Poison's Life Origin flag, the Domain-type Sky Origin flag, appear in your hands? Did you kill him? Did you manage to snatch his natal treasure?" A sinister smile appeared on Demon Freak's face as he gave a thumbs up and praised, "Your deduction is really amazing, Iron Raven. You can even utter such absurd words. This Demon Freak Geezer has killed countless people, and the number of people who have died in my hands is more than 5 digits in just 1 or 200 years. But the only person I won't kill in my life is Dao Master Poison. Not only did he save my life countless times, but he's also my hope to make a breakthrough in the future. Although my strength has increased and I don't like him, he's still my hope in the future." Chapter 1066. Where's Tao Master Poison now? Asked Iron Raven in a deep voice. It seems you really miss Tao Master Poison, huh? Demon Freak laughed aloud. Unfortunately, he had some private matters to deal with and separated from me a long time ago. However, the time we've agreed on is almost here. It won't be long before he can help me refine that cauldron of poisonous pills. When that time comes, not only me, but even this corpse of mine will become stronger. Iron Raven's face turned cold and he shook his head. If Tao Master Poison is still alive, it's impossible for his sky origin flag to appear in your hands. Why is it impossible? Demon Freak let out a strange smile. A drop of mountain liquid, myriad river liquid, and blue sea liquid is enough to make Tao Master Poison go crazy. Don't tell me I can't exchange for a year's borrowing of the sky origin flag with just 3 drops of spirit liquid? Iron Raven's pupils shrunk and he suddenly seemed to recall something. His face quickly turned ferocious and he angrily shouted, "You really stole the myriad river liquid from me back then. I'll make you pay a painful price even if I die today. Everyone, heed my command. Since this sky origin flag has sealed the surrounding space and we can't escape, let's fight them to the death. Do you want to fight to the death and eventually kill your way out? Or be trapped here and become their prey? It's your choice. Kill them. Kill them." Dozens of experts of the Stygian Club looked resolute. They finally threw caution to the wind since there was only one way left to go. Demon Freak didn't expect that his answer would provoke Iron Raven's hatred. Although he felt that Iron Raven would completely erupt due to his hatred, he wasn't afraid at all. With Carcass's help, Iron Raven would surely die today. As long as Iron Raven was eliminated and the remaining dozens of experts of the Stygian Club were killed, the Stygian Club would suffer huge losses, and he would be able to avenge his old and new enmity. Iron Raven, if Tao Master Poison comes back and finds out that I've killed you, I'm sure his face will be very wonderful. Ha ha ha. He's sworn countless times that he'll personally cut off your head and use it as a urinal in the future. In a nearby building, Tang Xiu took a pair of binoculars and watched the battle scene in the Speeder Union's HQ. He could hear the faintly discernible voices. Master Poison? The corners of Tan Xiu's mouth curved into an arc, and a devilish smile appeared on his face. He secretly felt sorry for Demon Freak Geezer, because Tao Master Poison was killed by him in the western part of China. Therefore, it was impossible for Demon Freak Geezer to count on Tao Master Poison in the future. No. He could do it. Tan Xiu was secretly amused. He couldn't do it in the world of the living, but in the netherworld, Demon Freak Geezer could still go to Tao Master Poison. Of course, if there was another Tao Master Poison in the netherworld of another world. You guys are really lucky today. Tan Xiu glanced at the people around him and said with a faint smile, "Why do you say that our luck is really good, Sect Master?" asked Mo confused. "I was worried that either of them would flee with their men before the end of the battle due to heavy losses," said Tan Xiu with a faint smile. "We'll have to spend a lot of effort to kill them. But now it seems we don't need to do it since they've been trapped in the array. Unless those people from the Stygian Club can break the flag array, they'll have no choice but to die." Mo nodded and said, "If that's the case, then our luck is indeed good." Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "What I'm talking about is not the result of their battle, but those 2 old geezers. After they're all dead, and I'm refining the sanguine pill, I can enhance the effect of the sanguine pill if I can crush their golden cores. Therefore, your cultivation can directly break through once you take the sanguine pill. If you have a good fortune, you may be able to break through 2 levels in one go." 2 levels? Mo, Hao Lei and Kawako Yamamoto didn't care about it, but Tang Guang and Tang An looked pleasantly surprised. They could directly step into the nascent soul stage if they could break through 2 levels in one go. The nascent soul stage. It was the stage they dreamed of breaking through. Tan Xiu, however, didn't rush and calmly watched the battle at the Speeder's HQ. Both sides launched crazy attacks and eventually, their experts died tragically, while the other side also suffered a lot of losses. In such a situation, Iron Raven, Demon Freak Geezer, and the giant serpent in midair had also reached the final moment of their battle. Eventually, Iron Raven didn't manage to hold on to the final victory. After successfully injuring Demon Freak Geezer, His head was bitten off by the giant python, and his body fell to the cold concrete floor. Beastman carcass, kill the rest of the enemies. Demon Freak Geezer's injuries were quite serious. Although he was in a good mood after getting rid of Iron Raven, he didn't join the battle again, and directly ordered the heavily injured giant python. He then landed on the roof of the building, and began to recuperate cross-legged. Let's begin. Tang Xiu stamped his feet, and a satisfied look appeared on his handsome face. Suddenly, the blood pill array appeared out of thin air, and even the flag array shrouded in black aura was shrouded by it. What's going on? Demon Freak Geezer looked dumbfounded. His eyes that had just closed suddenly opened, and he looked up at the sky. He was keenly aware that the fluctuations of the surrounding aura were very strong, as though there were enemies in all directions. That feeling caused his heart to sink unceasingly. Whoosh, a figure flickered and instantly appeared in front of Demon Freak Geezer. It was a burly man in a black night suit. With a bit of panic, he said, "We're surrounded. There's a red light in the air around us. It seems it's an array similar to our flag array." Demon Freak Geezer's heart shook, and he instantly rushed to the sky. When he sprinted to an altitude of hundreds of meters, he looked around. What made his heart grow colder and colder was that he also saw the array energy shield with a trace of red. "Who are you? Get the fuck out!" roared Demon Freak Geezer. Hee. Tan Xiu suddenly appeared in front of the Demon Freak Geezer out of the blue. A porcelain bottle appeared in his hand. After unplugging the bottle, he smilingly looked at Demon Freak Geezer and said, "You're called Demon Freak Geezer, right? You're indeed an old fiend who kills without batting an eyelid. So many people have died in your hands over the years. You really deserve the wrath of the heavens. What's wrong? Why are you looking at this porcelain bottle in my hand with such eyes? Do you find it familiar?" Demon Freak Geezer's body slightly shivered and he sternly shouted, "That's a porcelain bottle specially made by Dao Master Poison. It's a vessel specifically used to contain poisonous substances. You, how did you get it? Where's Dao Master Poison?" Tan Xiu gave him a thumbs up and praised, "I didn't expect you to have such a good relationship with Dao Master Poison. You can even recognize his porcelain bottle with just a few glances. Don't worry, I'm already here, aren't I? You should have a 1 in a billion chance to see him after I kill you, right?" Demon Freak Geezer incredulously exclaimed, You killed him? Who the hell are you?" "Actually, it doesn't matter who I am to you at this moment." Tan Xiu lightly smiled and said, "You only need to know that you're about to be killed and I'll refine your flesh and blood into a medicinal pill. Also, I'll need your golden core's assistance to make the medicinal pill more effective." "What did you say?" Demon Freak Geezer looked at Tan Xiu as though he was looking at a lunatic. Although he could sense that the young man in front of him exuded a very powerful aura, he didn't believe that the other party could kill him, let alone use his flesh and blood to refine a medicinal pill. "Men kill him." Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 8 figures flickered lightning fast from a distance, and appeared around Tan Xiu in the blink of an eye. Just as they were about to attack Tan Xiu with their weapons, ripples suddenly appeared in the air, and an immortal sword appeared out of thin air, and directly slashed 4 of them. "What?" Demon Freak Geezer was aghast at the strange scene in front of him, and couldn't help but shiver a few times. The remaining 4 burly men in black suits also looked fearful, and one of them was so scared that he instantly fled. Puff! The immortal sword pierced the burly man's back and shot out of his chest. Tang En's figure then appeared out of thin air as a sharp dagger tore the throats of the other 3 burly men, and pierced their hearts. The speed was so fast that the 3 burly men simply couldn't react. Tan Xiu spread his arms and laughed aloud. "Kill them all. Kill." Tang Guang, Mo Au, Hao Lei, Kawako Yamamoto, and the young Tang 28 directly launched a fierce attack on Demon Freak Geezer's men. Except for Tang 28, who was very weak and only at the mid-stage of Foundation establishment, the rest were all Golden Core experts and killing them was as easy as killing chickens. "Don't just stand there and do nothing, Tom Reggie." Tan Xiu laughed. "Since you can't participate in the battle here, go attack the Ravengale's lair." Oh, go with Tom Reggie and make sure to clean up all the underground forces in Saipan within 2 days. Understood. Understood. Tom Reggie, who was a kilometer away, could clearly hear Tan Xiu's words. He respectfully complied and quickly left with his men, and a large number of the Golden Cauldron organization's men. Mo Ao, who had just started the slaughter, was a bit reluctant, but he still gave up on attacking the enemy and followed Tom Reggie. Standing high in the air, Tan Xiu laughed aloud again. The sun and the moon are the universe, and the yin and yang are reversed. The heaven and earth are the array, and the grand array is the furnace. People die, their flesh and bones grow, and their souls return. Within the range of the blood core grand spell formation, corpses rose into the air, floating dozens of meters in the air. Every drop of blood that flowed out of the corpses slowly floated in the air, eventually condensing into a waterfall of blood. The sky turned red. The world was dyed red. Chapter 1067. Demon Freak felt as though he had fallen into an ice cave, and his eyes were full of fear. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect that the 8 experts he had painstakingly trained would be killed in a flash. The bloody scene in the sky was like a river of blood flowing backward in hell, making him want to flee immediately. So strong. He was finally sure that this young man in front of him had enough strength to kill him since the other party's subordinates were not inferior to him. Demon Freak stared fixedly at Tan Xiu and shouted in a deep voice. Who the hell are you? We have no enmity between us, so why did you kill us? You just ordered your subordinates to kill me in high spirits, didn't you? Tan Xiu sneered. How did you forget about it in just a blink of an eye? It was you who wanted to kill me, so I ordered my subordinates. Demon Freak hurriedly said. It was self-defense. I'm afraid I'm not your match, but your subordinates are also very strong. Almost all of them are at the golden core stage. I want to know who you are. Why do you want to kill us? You don't need to know who we are. Tan Xiu chuckled. Only death awaits all the enemies who are enveloped by my blood core grand array. If you want a reason, it's not like I can't tell you. Anyone who tries to seize the control of Saipan's underground forces must die. Demon Freak stared blankly for a moment, and then angrily shouted. We're not people from Saipan, nor do we have the slightest intention to seize the control of Saipan's underground forces. I have enmity with the Stygian Club and that damned Iron Raven, both new and old. The reason why I brought my men here is to kill Iron Raven, and those people from the Stygian Club. Is that so? Tan Xiu shot him a strange look. A bit of regret appeared on his handsome face and he sighed. Now that I know your purpose, I shouldn't have killed you. After all, I have a lot of enmity with the Stygian Club. It's just that the demonic beast corpse beside you gave me a reason to kill you. Demon Freak Geezer frowned and asked. What's the reason? Tan Xiu said. I'm not a saint. Naturally, I don't have much compassion for the state of the universe. I understand that life and death are decreed by fate. However, you've relied on your strength to slaughter too many people. According to some conclusions, you've already become a demon, and become a member of the demonic path. If you continue to live in this world, I'm afraid more people will suffer in the future. They will die in the hands of you and this beast corpse. Demon Freak Geezer looked desperate. He couldn't tell whether Tan Xiu's reason was true or false, but he was sure that Tan Xiu would never let him go today. He took a deep breath and instantly retreated backward. He then unleashed the 8 flags and angrily said, Let me go. I promise I won't kill anyone in vain in the future. Otherwise, even if I die in your hands today, I will make you pay a painful price. Threatening me. A contemptuous look appeared on Tan Xiu's face. Just as he was about to attack, he suddenly recalled something and immediately looked at Demon Freak Geezer and asked, I can spare your life if you can answer a question of mine. Demon Freak Geezer's expression changed and he hurriedly asked, What is it? Ask away. I won't hide anything as long as I know it. For the sake of living, he was willing to reveal any secret. You should have been in Saipan for some time, right? Asked Tan Xiu. A group of mysterious people besieged and killed several cultivators in Saipan a few days ago. I can spare your life if you can tell me the origin of those mysterious people. Demon Freak Geezer pondered for a moment, and looked at Tan Xiu with a relieved expression. He then said with a solemn expression, I'm afraid others won't be able to answer your question if you ask them. But coincidentally, I was in the vicinity of the battle and witnessed the whole process. It seems that those cultivators are your men, yes? Tan Xiu didn't hide anything and nodded. Yeah, they're my men. It's reasonable to say that your men are very strong, sighed Demon Freak Geezer. But they just happen to run into the most ruthless characters of the Sui Company. They are all genetic warriors who have undergone genetic modification many times. And their leader is the most outstanding genius of House Dolan, Angelo Dolan. House Dolan? A cold light flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes. He slowly stretched out a finger and asked in a deep voice, Tell me, where are the genetic warriors of the Sui Company led by Angelo Dolan now? You only have one chance, and you'll immediately turn into a corpse if you lose it. Then I'll use the soul-scouring art to search your memory and find the answer I want. Soul-scouring art? Demon Freak Geezer couldn't help shuddering. He once heard from Dao Master Poison that some evil cultivators in China were proficient in a kind of soul-scouring art. This method was truly heaven-defying. They could search the enemy's memory as long as they were alive and had just died. He's an evil cultivator? Demon Freak Geezer took a deep breath and said, I have no enmity with those people from the Sui Company. We even have some cooperation in some aspects. The most outstanding genius of House Dolan also owes me a favor. That's why they met me after they came to Saipan. As for me, I also had some understanding of their whereabouts. Go to the Pacific Ocean if you want to find them. They tracked those cultivators to the sea a few days ago. Else the speeder wouldn't have ended up in such a pitiful state today. What do you mean? Asked Tan Xiu with a frown. Do you mean the Sui Company or House Dolan has a deep relationship with the speeder? Don't you know that the speeder is controlled by House Dolan? Asked Demon Freak Geezer with a strange expression. The Sui Company also belongs to House Dolan. The Ravengale, which is also known as the Stygian Club, should have received the news that Angelo Dolan led the genetic warriors of the Sui Company to the sea. That's why they dared to attack the speeder's HQ. A terrifying aura burst out from Tan Xiu at this moment. The aura greatly shocked the Demon Freak Geezer, and he couldn't help but retreat tens of meters again. He could tell from the aura released by Tan Xiu that Tan Xiu's strength was at least 10 times stronger than his. It would be absolutely easy for Tan Xiu to kill him if he wanted to. You said you'll spare my life if I answer your question, cried the Demon Freak Geezer hurriedly. I can spare your life, but I must control it, said Tan Xiu indifferently. I need you to sign a soul contract with me. I'll naturally let you go as long as you agree and won't restrain your actions in the future. But if you refuse, you'll expose the fact that we're here today, so it's very difficult for me to let you leave alive. You're going back on your words. You don't have integrity, shouted the Demon Freak Geezer angrily. I didn't go back on my words. I said I'll let you go, but I must control your life to prevent you from spreading the news about me after you leave, said Tan Xiu lightly. Even if you sign a soul contract with me, you can't stop me from spreading what you've done, can you? Sneered the Demon Freak Geezer. You're just an excuse to make me give up resisting, and then let you slaughter me. Whoosh. Kawako flashed lightning fast and instantly appeared beside Tan Xiu. Her beautiful eyes glanced at the Demon Freak Geezer and disdainfully said, My sect master can kill you with just a flick of his finger. He doesn't need any excuse, let alone playing tricks with you. You're called Demon Freak Geezer, right? In fact, signing a soul contract with sect master isn't bad for you at all. Instead, it's a great fortune for you. Just like me. The Demon Freak Geezer frowned and asked, You also signed a soul contract with him? What kind of form does this thing exist in? The soul contract is a seed planted in your body by sect master, said Kawako. It's like a bomb. Sect master can destroy your soul and make you die without a burial place as long as he wills it. You must obey sect master's orders. Only in this way can you live safe and sound. The Demon Freak Geezer incredulously said, You actually dared to sign such a terrifying soul contract with him? I was just an ordinary person a year and a half ago. A relatively powerful martial arts expert. Kawako sneered. In just a year and a half, I went from a martial arts expert to constantly breaking through to the Golden Core stage. Then Sect Master sent people to help me clear the obstacles, and let me train a large number of elite soldiers. Identity, status, strength, wealth. I've obtained nearly everything I can get. Yet Sect Master didn't do anything unfavorable to me just because he can easily control my life and death. Therefore, if you want to obtain this huge opportunity, you'll get more benefits than fighting for it yourself as long as you're obedient. The demon freak geezer stared at Kawako for a long time before he asked with difficulty, "You're not a Chinese. You may have the strength of a Golden Core stage, but you're not a Chinese cultivator." "Cultivators are not divided by race or nationality," said Kawako. "I may be a Japanese, but Sect Master treats me like his own." "A Japanese? A Chinese cultivator?" The demon freak geezer turned to look at Tan Xiao in disbelief. His lips squirmed a few times before he gave a thumbs up and praised, "You're amazing, mister. Kawako has told you a lot, so I don't want to waste my breath anymore," said Tan Xiao indifferently. "There are only two paths in front of you now. Surrender and sign a soul contract with me, or be killed by me now and use the energy of your Golden Core to help me refine a stronger sanguine pill." The demon freak geezer took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "I want to know what you need me to do once I choose to surrender to you. I'll make my choice immediately as long as you can answer this question." "Don't you have a grudge with the Stygian Club?" Tan Xiao indifferently said. "I need you to infiltrate into their inner circle so that you can coordinate with them from the inside and outside when I remove the Stygian Club in the future. There's also the SOE Company, and even the existence behind it. House Dolan." Chapter 1068. Demon Freak Geezer finally understood Tang Xiao's intention. In fact, it wouldn't be difficult for Tang Xiao to kill him given his strength. Yet, Tang Xiao patiently talked to him for so long, and even patiently waited for his men to explain to him. It turned out that he wanted to subdue him, and make him work for him in the future. "I accept." Demon Freak Geezer understood the meaning of a wise man submits to circumstances. He had yet to live long enough. Even with his current cultivation, he could still live for nearly 100 more years. It was better to live than to die. As long as he could live, losing some freedom was the best choice he could make. Tan Xiao strode forward and instantly appeared in front of Demon Freak Geezer. Then he lightly said, "Give up resisting and open your mind. I need to plant the soul-ruling art in your body. If you're obedient and make great contributions to me in the future, I'll choose a time to release the control over you." Understood. Demon Freak Geezer was like a desperate gambler at this moment. According to Tan Xiao's instruction, he let go of all his defenses and let Tan Xiao plant the soul-ruling art in his body. The moment Tan Xiao completed the process, Demon Freak Geezer shuddered inwardly. He could vaguely sense a faint energy fluctuation in his heart. It was because of this faint energy that a line appeared between him and Tan Xiao. Tan Xiao ordered to stop killing Demon Freak Geezer's men, and then lightly said, "I'm your boss from now on. What I need you to do for the time being is to help me find the people from the SOE Company, and find the outstanding genius of House Dolan, Angelo Dolan." A bit of awe could be seen in Demon Freak Geezer's eyes. This emotion was directly formed due to the influence of the soul contract. After shooting a deep look at Tan Xiao, he said in a deep voice, "I have a way to contact Angelo Dolan, boss. I'll know where he is in half a day at most." Tan Xiao raised his brows. He instantly realized that Demon Freak Geezer had some reservations about what he said before. His relationship with the SOE Company and even House Dolan was probably much closer than what he said. "Tell me, what is your relationship with them?" Demon Freak Geezer bitterly replied, "The SOE Corporation is my partner. We've established a genetic research lab together to conduct secret genetic research. This carcass that I reared had actually been injected with the strongest genetic medicine, and then I refined it to gradually raise its strength. Finally, it has the strength of an early-stage Golden Core martial cultivator. Additionally, I've also cooperated with House Dolan a lot in the past. It's all about killing people and robbing their goods. They pay us while I and Dao Master Poison are responsible for doing things for them. Very good. Tan Xiao nodded and said, you can win their trust because of these relationships. It seems that not killing you today was indeed the right choice. However, I don't know if your subordinates can keep their mouths shut. I'll leave this matter to you. Get rid of any unreliable people. Otherwise, once our relationship is exposed, you'll be implicated. Demon Freak pondered for a moment and nodded. I understand, boss. Finished. His figure instantly swooped down and came in front of his remaining dozens of subordinates in a flash. He grabbed a sharp dagger and a shadow flashed as a big man in black clothes fell down one after another, clutching his throat and heart. Dozens of people. In the end, only 18 of them were left, and none of them showed the slightest fear in the face of Demon Freak Geezer's slaughter. It was as though it was normal for Demon Freak Geezer to kill them. All of you withdraw. Tang Xiao opened an exit in the bloodcore array, and watched as everyone quickly disappeared into the array. He glanced around a few times and then began to concoct pills. The Ravengale and the Street Racer gang fought each other, and then Demon Freak Geezer led his men to fight the Ravengale. That is, the Stygian Club's people. Coupled with the people Tan Xiao sent to clean up the surrounding eyes, the total number of deaths was more than 500 people. Time fleeted by. 3 hours passed in a flash. When Tan Xiao's figure appeared outside the bloodcore array, it was as though the whole world turned quiet. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Figures flickered lightning fast from a distance and arrived in front of Tan Xiao in the blink of an eye. Most of them wore longing looks and looked at Tan Xiao with inquiring eyes. Tan Xiao let out a faint smile and casually removed the bloodcore array. The 12 sanguine pills floating in front of the HQ were instantly collected by him. Demon Freak Geezer, take your men and clean up the scene. Try not to leave too many traces. Bring your men to Lao Bei Resort to find me after you're done here, said Tan Xiao as he quickly left with Tang Guang and the others. Demon Freak Geezer's eyes were fiery. He could sense sufficient energy fluctuations from the sanguine pills refined by Tan Xiao, especially the longing he felt from the demonic beast's carcass. He was even more certain that these sanguine pills were definitely good stuff. Clean up the scene. Demon Freak Geezer hurriedly ordered. His eyes then shifted to the direction where Tan Xiao and the others disappeared. He had a faint hunch that Tan Xiao asked him to take his men to Lao Bei Resort instead of directly contacting Angelo Dolan. This indicated that he should have a share of the 12 sanguine pills. Lao Bei Resort. After Tan Xiao returned with his men, he received news from Tom Reggie. At this time, Tom Reggie and a large number of his men were constantly cleaning up the remnants of the Ravengale. Although they encountered stubborn resistance along the way, they still had the assistance of Mo, a Golden Core stage expert, to kill all the resistance with a crushing momentum. The whole day passed. Saipan was in chaos. Under Song Guanghui's command, the police cleverly avoided all the places where the underground forces were fighting. Every time the fighting ended, he would direct the police to arrive and clean up the mess. When the new sun rose from the east, Tom Reggie hurried back to Lao Bei Resort with several of his trusted men. When he appeared in front of Tan Xiao, he was slightly injured. Are you all right? Asked Tan Xiao after observing Tom Reggie for a while. I'm fine. It's just a minor injury. Tom Reggie shook his head. The entire underground forces in Saipan are now under our control. I'm afraid it will take a few days to deal with the aftermath, but I believe I can do it well. Don't take it lightly. Tan Xiao nodded with satisfaction and said, the underground forces in Jingmen Island are very complicated. Many underground forces from other countries have also appeared here, so we'll stay here for a few days. We'll leave after the situation is completely stabilized. Tom Reggie glanced at Mo, who came back with him and hesitantly said, can you let Mo follow me and help me, boss? Many of the underground forces we've cleaned up this time are very strong. Fortunately, he killed them, else we wouldn't have been able to control the entire underground forces in Saipan in such a short time. Go and do your thing. Mo will stay here first, said Tan Xiao. Call me immediately if you encounter any danger, and I'll arrange them to help you. That's right, let me introduce you to Demon Freak Geezer. He'll be one of us in the future. You can take his men to do some things when you leave Lao Bei Resort. Tom Reggie had seen Demon Freak Geezer before and knew that his men were very powerful. He was pleasantly surprised upon hearing Tan Xiu's words. Demon Freak Geezer didn't say much and just ordered his 18 men to follow Tom Reggie's arrangement. Then he obediently stayed beside Tan Xiu. Now he was getting more and more curious about Tan Xiu. He really couldn't figure out which force Tan Xiu belonged to since there was no such sect called Tang sect in China's cultivation world. The red sun rose in the east. Tang Xiu stood by the window on the second floor of the villa and watched Tom Reggie leave in a hurry with his men. He then turned to look at Mo, Tang Guang, Haolei Kawako Yamamoto, and Demon Freak Geezer, who wore a strange expression. I'll give you 2 days to absorb all the energy in the sanguine pills. As his voice faded away, 5 sanguine pills were ejected and fell into the hands of the 5 men. The eyes of Mo, Tang Guang, Haolei, and Kawako lit up. They took the sanguine pills and immediately rushed to the guest room where they were staying. They wanted to seize the time to take, refine, and absorb the energy. Demon Freak Geezer, however, looked hesitant and asked, "What effect does this sanguine pill have, boss?" "I don't know what cultivation art you're practicing, but you'll get a lot of benefits as long as you take this sanguine pill," said Tan Xiu lightly. "At the very least, it won't be a problem for you to break through to the late stage of golden core. It's a pity that I only used 1 golden core to refine the sanguine pill. If I add your golden core, it can make a mid-stage golden core cultivator directly break through to the nascent soul stage." Cough, cough. Demon Freak Geezer was shocked inwardly, yet he still coughed twice with a bit of embarrassment. He secretly cursed inwardly. "I'll die if my golden core is added to the sanguine pill." What a ruthless remark. Suddenly, he looked down at his feet and hesitantly said, "Boss, I can feel the desire from this carcass. Can you give me another sanguine pill? I'll feed it to it." Tan Xiu rolled his eyes and coldly snorted. "Do you really think sanguine pills are like cabbages on the street? Giving it to this animal is simply a reckless waste of God's gift. Demon Freak Geezer, I know you've spent a lot to enhance this carcass's strength, but I'll give you a piece of advice. A real powerhouse should rely on their own strength, not external help from the evil path. Besides, once this carcass's strength surpasses yours in the future, it'll likely bring you danger." Demon Freak Geezer incredulously asked, "You mean it'll turn from guest to host?" Tan Xiu nodded and said, "Without my help, it's highly likely to turn from guest to host once its strength surpasses yours. It'll either kill you or enslave you. It's because snakes are the most ruthless creatures. Even if you raise it for many years, it won't affect its nature." Chapter 1069. Demon Freak Geezer's expression shifted and he hurriedly asked, "Do you have a solution, boss?" Tan Xiu moved lightning fast and pressed his palm on the top of Demon Freak Geezer's head. Ever since he broke through to the Star Heavenly Essence stage, he could easily instill all kinds of contents into the other party's sea of consciousness, so he didn't bother to take out the beast-subduing art manual. He's so strong. Demon Freak Geezer instinctively wanted to dodge, but Tan Xiu's speed was too fast and his strength was too strong. He couldn't move his body away no matter how hard he tried. Just as he thought that Tan Xiu was going to harm him, his body suddenly turned stiff and the beast-subduing art manual appeared in his mind. This is... Demon Freak Geezer was shocked. Although he was shocked by Tan Xiu's formidable strength, he was more shocked by Tan Xiu's mysterious and unfathomable means. He had heard that some powerful figures could directly impart their power to others. But the art he obtained could completely solve the situation where the demonic beast's corpse became stronger. Shortly after imparting the beast-subduing art to Demon Freak Geezer, Tan Xiu released him and retreated a few meters away. Then he lightly said, "Remember my words. External objects are external objects after all. What you can really rely on is your own strength. Go find a guest room and take the sanguine pill." Demon Freak Geezer looked at Tan Xiu with a bit of awe in his eyes. He respectfully complied and quickly left with the demonic beast's corpse. After taking the sanguine pill, he sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. 2 days later, Tom Reggie had taken control of the entire underground forces in Saipan. He had killed a lot of people in the past few days, but he also used the carrot and stick method to become the leader of the underground forces in Saipan. During this period, some cultivation forces wanted to attack him, but Tan Xiu personally took action and killed a group of people with bad intentions. Only then did Saipan truly calm down. Wush Tangguang silently appeared in front of Tan Xiu with an excited look on his handsome face. He respectfully saluted and said, "I've broken through to the late stage of Golden Core Grand Master. It won't take long for me to break through to the nascent soul stage." Tan Xiu nodded and said with a smile, "The resentment contained in the blood pill didn't affect you too much, did it?" "No." Tangguang smiled. Tan Xiu nodded and said, "You've been tempered since childhood, constantly fighting on the edge of life and death, so your minds have been tempered quite well. Tangan, have you also broken through to the late stage of Golden Core?" Next to Tangguang, a graceful figure suddenly appeared out of thin air. It was Tangan in a black robe and a bronze mask. She then said, "I've broken through to the late stage of Golden Core, Grand Master." Tan Xiu chuckled and said, "It seems that you two siblings are the first to break through to the nascent soul stage in our Tang sect. Keep it up. I hope you guys will become stronger and stronger. At the very least, don't fall too far behind me." The siblings looked at each other and nodded firmly. Shortly after, Mo Au and Hao Lei appeared in front of Tan Xiu. Both of them looked excited as they saluted and said, "We've broken through to the late stage of Golden Core, Sect Master. It's just that our realm is not very stable yet." Tan Xiu chuckled and said, "That's already very good. You just need to cultivate diligently, and you'll soon be able to completely stabilize your realm." "Understood." The two nodded. Immediately after, Mo Ao turned to look at Tangguang and grinned. "My cultivation has caught up with yours, and it won't take long for me to surpass you." Tangguang disdainfully smiled and stretched out 2 fingers. "I'll be able to break through to the nascent soul stage in 20 days at most. How long do you think it will take for you to have the confidence to break through to the nascent soul stage?" "Ugh!" Mo opened his mouth and an awkward look immediately appeared on his face. It was the sanguine pill that allowed him to break through to the late stage of Golden Core so quickly. Besides, he hadn't even stabilized his cultivation at the late stage of Golden Core, let alone breaking through to the nascent soul stage. Furthermore, he was perfectly aware of one thing. Once Tangguang broke through to the nascent soul stage, his strength would soar several times. At that time, even if he exerted all his strength, he would still be no match for Tangguang's finger. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and asked, "Are Kawako and Demon Freak Geezer still not done yet?" The 4 shook their heads at the same time. Kawako may have broken through to the Golden Core stage very quickly, but that's because she got a lot of heavenly treasures in Japan and exchanged them for a lot of medicinal pills, Tan Xiu said. She still has a lot of medicinal efficacies stored in her body that haven't been absorbed yet. Now that she has taken the sanguine pill, I'm afraid she won't be able to fully refine and absorb the energy of the pill in a short time. It seems that I'll need to carry out a special training for her." "Can we also participate in the special training, Sect Master?" asked Mo hurriedly. "Special training?" "Especially the special training arranged by Tan Xiu. Their strength would progress by leaps and bounds after each training session. Although the special training was very painful, the benefits were too many, so Mo couldn't bear it anymore." Tan Xiu shook his head and smilingly said, "You don't need any special training. You just need to cultivate diligently and step by step. Besides, my special training for Kawako won't have much effect on you either. Well, Demon Freak Geezer's training has also ended. Although he hasn't broken through to the nascent soul stage, it seems that he has reached the perfected Golden Core stage, similar to Tangguang and his brother." Whoosh! As Tan Xiu's voice faded away, Demon Freak Geezer's figure appeared in front of everyone. With a pleasantly surprised expression, he saluted Tan Xiu and excitedly said, "I've broken through to the late stage of Golden Core, boss. I've prepared a lot of treasures just to see Dao Master Poison, and ask him to help me break through to the late stage of Golden Core. But now it seems that I don't need him anymore." "There's indeed no need for him since he's no longer in this world," said Tan Xiu with a faint smile. "Demon Freak Geezer, You've become a late-stage golden core cultivator, but you're nothing but an ant in my eyes. Only when you break through to the nascent soul stage in the future will you understand how big the gap between the golden core and nascent soul stage is. Nascent soul stage? Demon Freak Geezer opened his mouth and immediately let out a hollow laugh. I'm already satisfied to be able to break through to the late stage of golden core, boss. I'm afraid I won't be able to break through to the nascent soul stage for the rest of my life. Why? Asked Tanshio with a frown. I got my cultivation art from a vagrant cultivator, said Demon Freak Geezer helplessly. The highest realm of this cultivation art is the late stage of golden core. Hence, I don't have any cultivation art after that. Tanshio suddenly understood and said, You've chosen to submit to me, so I'm not afraid of your betrayal. That's why I'm teaching you a cultivation art that can at least help you reach the Mahayana stage. If you perform well in the future, it won't be a problem even if I teach you the cultivation art after the Mahayana stage. Demon Freak Geezer looked shocked, and was about to speak when Tanshio pressed his hand on his head again, and instilled the contents of a cultivation art into his sea of consciousness. Demon Freak Geezer's body slightly trembled, and a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. At this moment, he was so grateful that he almost knelt down before Tanshio. It was a cultivation art. Furthermore, it was a cultivation art that could be cultivated to the Mahayana stage. Such a cultivation art was definitely more valuable than 100 mountains of gold in the current era. This Demon Freak Geezer will be loyal to you in the future, boss. Demon Freak Geezer cupped his fists and said seriously after getting the cultivation art. You don't need to show your loyalty in front of me. Just do it with your actions later. Tanshio faintly smiled. Understood. Demon Freak Geezer was originally unwilling, and had been thinking of ways to escape from Tanshio's control countless times. But now he secretly felt that Kawako's words made a lot of sense. Being by Tanshio's side was simply a great opportunity for her. 2 hours later, Kawako Yamamoto hurriedly appeared in front of Tanshio. When she saw that everyone had finished their cultivation and came to report to Tanshio earlier than her, the joy in her heart vanished and she respectfully said, I've broken through to the mid-stage of Golden Core, Sect Master. I believe I'll soon be able to break through to the late stage of Golden Core. Tanshio shook his head and said, Your cultivation speed is too fast, which will lead to an unstable foundation. Once we're done here, I'll come up with a special training plan for you when we return. Wait until your realm has completely stabilized, and you've absorbed a large amount of residual medicinal efficacies stored in your body, as well as the energy of the sanguine pill. Then we'll talk about breaking through to the late stage of Golden Core. Sect Master, you said that there's a large amount of residual medicinal efficacies in my body? I haven't fully absorbed the energy of the sanguine pill? Tanshio didn't answer her directly, but asked, Do you often feel warm and comfortable when you're cultivating? Or do you sometimes feel a sudden heat flow coming from some corner of your body, which makes your true essence grow a bit? It happens quite often. Kawako nodded. That's the medicinal efficacies dormant in your body, Tanshio said. You've taken too many heavenly treasures before. You couldn't refine and absorb all of them with your cultivation at that time, so it's been accumulating in your body for a long time. Kawako suddenly understood and nodded. Kawako will listen to Sect Master's arrangement. Tanshio shifted to Demon Freak Geezer and said, It's time to contact Angelo Dolan and find out where they are now. We'll directly kill them. Those bastards injured my men, so they must pay a painful price. Understood. Demon Freak Geezer respectfully replied. From Tanshio's words, he could sense a strong sense of protectiveness. Suddenly, he felt that submitting to Tanshio was a very good choice. Once he became loyal and worked for him in the future and gained his full approval, it was very likely that Tanshio would help him take revenge on his enemies if he were to be injured by outsiders. In the next 2 days, Tanshio secretly met with Song Guanghui and discussed some matters with him. After that, he boarded a liner with everyone and headed to the Pacific Ocean. Although Tom Reggie had just become the big boss of Saipan, Tanshio didn't intend to keep him in Saipan. He just asked him to pick a capable and loyal subordinate to manage the affairs in Saipan on his behalf. He then used some special means to make Tom Reggie take a sanguine pill to help him smoothly embark on the path of cultivation. Chapter 1070. Bright stars twinkled in the night sky as the cool sea breeze blew across the calm sea surface, making the reflection of the starlight exude a hazy beauty. Amidst the sparkling waves, many fishes leaped out of the sea to peep at the other world beyond the sea. 2 luxury liners that could accommodate hundreds of people were quietly anchored on the sea surface, decorated with all kinds of colorful lights as though 2 huge colorful gems were inlaid on the sea surface. A long table was placed on the bow deck with all kinds of fruits and desserts placed on it in exquisite utensils. As for the wine in the crystal glass, it was as red as blood and bewitching. 2 young and handsome young men with blonde hair and blue eyes were toasting and drinking. God must be sleeping for me to be able to see you in the Pacific Ocean, Will Art. Your Ordo company seems to have been destroyed by the pyramid a long time ago. Rumor has it that you also went to drink with Satan. But how come you're here? A warm smile hung on Angelo Dolan's face. His words were a bit thought-provoking. Dressed in red pajamas with his long blonde hair draped over his shoulders, Will Art shrugged and gulped down the wine in the crystal glass. Then he gently picked up a white handkerchief to wipe the wine stain on the corner of his mouth and leisurely smiled. I don't know if God is sleeping or not, but I do know that Satan doesn't like me. You're the one that Satan likes, but he didn't summon you, Angelo. How could he summon me? The smile on Angelo's face faded a lot and he said, You know my character very well, Will Art. I don't like to beat around the bush. Just answer me. Why did you come to the Pacific Ocean? Don't tell me you're also here to get the treasure mentioned in the false news? Men die for wealth just like birds die for food, said Will Art. It's natural for me to try my luck since there's a treasure here. Of course, I didn't bother to look for it after the news was confirmed that the treasure was fabricated by the Celestial Wizard clan. I might as well take this opportunity to relax. Fine wine, delicious food, and beautiful women. This place isn't far from Saipan, so I'm very satisfied with my leisure life here. So you're on vacation now? Asked Angelo Dolan. I never said I'm on vacation. I'm here to look for treasures. My old fogey, he can't wait to squeeze all my time dry, just like a bank printing machine to make money for him. I'm so tired. Finished. He turned his head and glanced at the row of burly men in black suits standing not far away. He raised his voice and asked loudly, Tell me, are you tired? I'm not tired. The row of burly men shouted loudly. Will Art rolled his eyes and stretched lazily. What a bunch of hypocritical bastards. You follow me around every day and work for money. Yet you say you're not tired? Looks like I'll have to order these bastards around like mules and horses in the future. Angelo Dolan burst into laughter and said, My dear friend Will Art, you really can't handle your subordinates. When I say my men are tired, they are very tired. When I say they are not tired, they are full of energy. Will Art waved his hand and said, All right, don't show off. Will Art waved and said, I've found some good models from the Karen agency to serve you at the party. Don't look down on them. I've played with them before, but their skills are still very good. Let's talk about the women later, shall we? Angelo Dolan smiled indifferently. I originally planned to look for you later, but I didn't expect to meet you here. So let's get down to business first. We'll have some fun after we're done. Will Art raised his brows and directly said, Don't talk to me about business. I've been busy from Christmas to Christmas, and I'm as tired as a Malamute every day. But now, I just want to have fun and do whatever I want to do. My dear Mr. Art, I believe you should have known about the robbery of the Dante diamond mine in Africa in advance with your family's intelligence network, right? I don't think there's any need to hide it from you because the one who robbed the Dante diamond mine is a member of House Dolan. It's just that we have a deep conflict with some local bullies in Africa. It'll be very troublesome if it's only House Dolan that solves it. Will Art's expression slightly changed. He shot a deep look at Angelo Dolan and said word by word, Your proposal has aroused my interest. Go on, I'll consider it if I think it's a good proposal. It's like a pie falling from the sky. I'm sure nobody will refuse it unless they're sick in the head, said Angelo confidently. I need your family to help me solve the poverty and backwardness in Africa. I'm willing to give 20% of the profits to your family. How about it? A glint flashed in Will Art's eyes. After pondering for a few minutes, he slowly stretched out his hand and said, 40%. I want 40% of the profits. Angelo glared at him and angrily shouted, My house Dolan suffered huge losses in order to snatch the Dante diamond mine. And now you're telling me you want 40% of the profits? Are you crazy or the world has gone crazy? That's impossible. The elders of House Dolan won't agree even if I agree to it. Don't make it sound so tragic. Will Art sneered. Those who snatched the Dante diamond mine didn't suffer any losses at all. My house Art can still investigate this information. All right, I won't ask for too much. 30%. House Art wants 30% of the profits. Else, you can find someone else to cooperate with. 30%? Angelo Dolan could accept this share. In fact, the situation in Africa was very complicated. Let alone 30%. He was even willing to pay half of the profits. Of course, the more the price was lowered, the higher the profit House Dolan could get, so he would naturally play some tricks. Deal. Angelo Dolan and Will Art exchanged glances, and a satisfied smile appeared on their faces at the same time. Will Art clapped his hands, and a big man immediately strode into the liner's cabin. A few minutes later, four voluptuous blondes were brought out. Will Art shifted to Angelo Dolan and grinned. Do you want to play together? Or do you want to pick two each? Angelo Dolan was fond of women, especially these female models who often showed their faces in public. Maybe one day, one of the female models he had played with would suddenly become a superstar. However, he still had something on his mind, so he shook his head and said, I just told you that we'll talk about serious business first. A friend will come over later, so let's talk about it after seeing him. Will Art was surprised. Friend? Who is he? Demon freak geezer, answered Angelo Dolan with a smile. Will Art abruptly got up from his chair with a look of dread on his face. He hurriedly said, Old friend, my dear Angelo, are you crazy? Why did you call demon freak geezer over? He's a madman who deals with dead people almost every day. Damn. I knew there's no such thing as a free lunch in the world. I just thought I got a big deal, but I didn't expect to run into such bad luck. You seem to be afraid of demon freak geezer, no? Asked Angelo with a strange expression. Did he remember you and flashed over here? Or is there any enmity between you two? There's no enmity between us. Will Art waved his hand and said, It's just that I was cheated by him once, and he took away a treasure of my family. Damn it, I really want to beat him up and make him return our family's treasure. Angelo Dolan pointed to the row of strong men nearby and grinned. Do you think these people you brought can deal with demon freak geezer? A strange light flashed in Will Art's eyes and he proudly said, We won't suffer a loss even if we can't deal with that guy. Young master. A beautiful woman in professional attire and gold-rimmed glasses came out of the cabin and bowed to Angelo Dolan's side. Then she whispered, We found a liner sailing towards our direction a few nautical miles away. Angelo Dolan raised his brows and grinned. There's an old saying in China that says speak of the devil, and he will appear. If my guess is correct, demon freak geezer should be coming with his men. Will Art rolled his eyes and snorted. I really wish I never met him. Nothing good ever happens when I see him. Quickly, a luxury liner slowly approached. When Angelo Dolan and Will Art clearly saw demon freak geezer standing on the bow deck, the latter got up, spread his arms and laughed aloud. Welcome, demon freak geezer. The luxury liner stopped and demon freak geezer wore a strange expression. He let out a hollow laugh and said, It seems that you can't wait to see Satan God, Angelo Dolan. Since you're so happy to welcome me, shouldn't I say I'm honored? The smile on Angelo Dolan's face froze. He then frowned and said, Demon freak geezer, that's not a good joke. He's not joking. You'll see your very respected Satan God today. Tan Xiao came out of the cabin with Tang Guang and the others. After they came to demon freak geezer's side, the latter slightly bowed and retreated behind Tan Xiao. Angelo Dolan's eyes revealed a vigilant look. He was even a little shocked. He knew demon freak geezer well. He knew that this old devil was an unruly character. Not only was he ruthless and ruthless, but he was also very arrogant. But who was this young man? Why did Demon Freak Geezer act so respectfully in front of him? Who are you? Angelo Dolan took a few steps back and asked with a gloomy expression after his men quickly approached him. Chapter 1071. On the bow of the luxury liner, Immortal moved a sofa over, and Tang Xiu smilingly sat on it. He crossed his legs, lit a cigarette and took 2 puffs. Then he let out a faint smile and said, "Actually, I don't think it's necessary for you to know who I am. Your most respected Satan will be ecstatic after seeing you, so he won't even ask who sent you to him." Angelo stared coldly at Tan Xiu and asked in a deep voice, "Is there enmity between us?" "There is enmity, and it's a blood feud." Tan Xiu nodded. "Not just you, but also the people you brought with you. Everyone from House Dolan deserves to die, including all the people in the Sui company controlled by your family." Angelo's eyes shifted to Demon Freak Geezer and angrily shouted, "We're friends, Demon Freak Geezer. We've been working together for many years. Why did you choose to betray us?" "A fine bird chooses a good tree to rest in." Demon Freak Geezer grinned. "My boss is monstrous and has the means to make me stronger. I'm naturally willing to pledge allegiance to him. It's true that I can get some benefits from working with your House Dolan, but it's nothing compared to what boss gave me. Angelo Dolan, you can only blame your bad luck. Why didn't you attack anyone? Of all people to deal with, you just had to deal with boss's men." Angelo was greatly shaken inwardly. He never dreamed that Demon Freak Geezer would address that young man as boss. What the hell was going on? It was obvious that he had become the other party's henchman. This is bad. Angelo Dolan was aware of the crisis of the situation. He only brought a few people from his family, only 4 of his closest subordinates. Although they were powerful, they were still inferior to Demon Freak Geezer. Even if the 4 of them joined forces, they would only be evenly matched with Demon Freak Geezer at best. But the real crisis was not on Demon Freak Geezer, but on that mysterious young man and his men. A powerhouse who could earn the respect of Demon Freak Geezer was most likely stronger than him. What should I do? Am I going to die in this boundless sea today? Angelo Dolan turned to look at Will Art next to him with a restless heart. He immediately felt a little relieved. Will Art, who had been silent all this time, quietly observed Tang Xiu and the others. When Angelo turned to look at him, he sneered and said, "Give my Art family 40% of the profits from the Dante diamond mine in Africa, and I'll join forces with you to solve the current trouble." "That's right." Angelo was silent for a moment before he nodded and said, "I agree." Will Art grinned and looked at Mo next to Tan Xiu, laughing aloud. "Old friend, you should know me, right? It's only been a few years since we last met, and I didn't expect you to have already chosen a master. To think that I sent people to entertain you all back then, and nurtured you all into very powerful experts." Tan Xiu raised his eyebrows. "He's Will Art, boss," said Mo respectfully. "The training camp I received was established by his family. As far as I know, the members of the Art family are very powerful. They almost possess inhuman strength. Will Art is the first heir of the Art family and has great power. He once tried to win me over. He just used you guys to describe us." Tan Xiu nodded and said, "Who else is it?" Kawako's expression turned a bit ugly. She had seen the scene of Will Art killing people. It was absolutely crazy and bloody. At that time, she even secretly rejoiced that she didn't stand against him. Else she would have died. Upon hearing Tan Xiu's words, she took a step forward and respectfully said, "Sect Master, I once belonged to an assassin organization and accepted an assassination mission. Will Art had the same goal as us, so I met him once. He's very powerful, and he's definitely a top-notch expert to me in the past. Furthermore, he also tried to win me over, but I eventually brushed him off and found an opportunity to return to Japan." Tan Xiu suddenly understood and lightly smiled. "It seems that Will Art used to be a very powerful person in your eyes. Such being the case, I'll leave him to you too. But remember, don't kill him. Maybe he can be sold for a good price." Moo and Kawako exchanged glances and slightly nodded. Tan Xiao then shifted to Angelo Dolan, and Will Art on the opposite liner, and lightly smiled. I originally came here to avenge my subordinates, but I didn't expect to come across an opportunity to make a fortune. Not bad. Angelo Dolan shot a hostile look at Tan Xiao and asked in a deep voice. I still don't know what kind of grudge we have, mister. Besides, you can make Demon Freak Geezer your subordinate, which means you're very powerful. You don't need to hide anymore, do you? Tell me, who exactly are you? Tan Xiao looked at the cigarette in his hand and found that he hadn't finished smoking yet, so he smilingly said, I'll tell you while I'm smoking. I'm Tan Xiao from China. Angelo Dolan, you brought the genetic warriors of the Sui Company to intercept and kill my men in Saipan. I'd like to know, what's your purpose in doing that? Confused, Angelo Dolan looked at Tan Xiao and asked, Who are your men? I brought my men to intercept and kill a lot of people in Saipan. Tan Xiao shook his head and said, Heaven's sins can be forgiven, but one's own sins cannot be avoided. I didn't expect you to be like a mad dog and commit so many murders in Saipan. Let me tell you, have you ever heard of the name Jin Shi? Jin Shi? Anger appeared on Angelo Dolan's face as he said in a deep voice, So you're Jin Shi's boss. It seems that Jin Shi has become very powerful now, and it's all thanks to you? That's right, I'm the one who intercepted and killed Jin Shi's men. That fucking bastard killed my younger brother. Although I hate that bastard, he's still my younger brother, so Jin Shi must die. Tang Xiao looked surprised and flicked the cigarette away. Then he applauded and smilingly said, Awu, keep this guy's words in mind. Jin Shi killed his younger brother, which is a great merit. Remember to give Jin Shi a reward later. Understood. Ah didn't understand why Tan Xiao had such a deep hatred for House Dolan, but he didn't ask about it. He just silently remembered that House Dolan was his mortal enemy, and killing them would give him a reward. I admit that you're very strong, Tan Xiao, but we're not to be trifled with. Angelo angrily shouted. If we go all out to fight you, only a few of you will survive even if you can kill us all. How about we make a deal, and let's forget about today's matter. The blood of my men is not something that can be exchanged for benefits. Tan Xiao sneered. When you besieged my men, you should have been prepared for retaliation. But now it seems that talking is futile. Just kill them. Whoosh. Whoosh. Two figures flickered lightning fast, and dashed toward the liner tens of meters away. Moo and Kawako Yamamoto immediately unleashed their immortal swords. Their target was not Angelo Dolan, but Will 8, who had once threatened them. Tang Guang and Hao Lei exchanged glances. A smile appeared on their faces as they followed them, and dashed toward the liner. However, there was someone who was faster than them. Demon Freak Geezer. Demon Freak Geezer had tasted the sweetness from Tan Xiao, and was forcibly promoted to the late stage of Golden Core. Hence, he was eager to show off in front of Tan Xiao, hoping to get more rewards. Even if Tan Xiao gave him another sanguine pill, he would feel that it was worth it. Angelo and Will 8 looked at the several figures darting toward them, and retreated nearly at the same time. Tens of their men quickly took their places, and got ready to fight. Interesting. 4 old men with white hair and a youthful complexion suddenly appeared beside Will 8 out of the blue. The weapons they were holding were very peculiar, but the sharp blades emitted a cold light, proving that they were lethal weapons used to slaughter living beings. Interesting indeed. 2 old men wearing linen shoes and octagonal hats appeared from the cabin in an instant, and protected Angelo from both sides. They were the experts of House Dolan who were responsible for Angelo's safety. They were also genetic warriors who had been injected with genetic agents many times. The current them could be said to have copper skin and iron bones. They were as fast as lightning and possessed extraordinary strength. Tan Xiao was still sitting there with a calm expression. He didn't even bat an eyelid despite the sudden appearance of the 6 old men. In his eyes, everyone on the 2 liners in front of him was just a corpse that was about to be fed to the sharks. A few days ago, Tan Xiao might not have much confidence in himself, but things were different now. Moo and the others' strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. Kawako was the only one at the mid-stage of Golden Core, while the others had broken through to the late stage. Therefore, it was absolutely easy for them to destroy the enemies in front of them. Not to mention that Demon Freak Geezer's strength was also tyrannical to the extreme. It was very likely that he alone could slaughter everyone on the two liners. Sure enough, after everyone rushed to the two liners in front of them, they immediately launched a bloody massacre. In just 10 minutes, except for Angelo, Will 8, and the 6 old men who were protecting them, everyone else on the deck was slaughtered. Angelo's eyes were filled with disbelief, and his heart was as cold as ice. This time, he had brought over 40 genetic warriors from the Sui company with him. All of these people were extremely powerful. Some of them were even the elites among the elites of the Sui company. However, in front of those people, they were simply powerless. This caused fear to grow in his heart. Think of a way to escape. Although Angelo didn't want to say it out loud, he didn't want to die here in vain. Chapter 1072. Fear filled Will Art's heart. At this moment, he regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. He only cared about the benefits promised by Angelo Dolan, so he got involved in this matter. It was because of his wrong judgment that he was now in danger. Escape? But how? This was the boundless sea, and there was only blue sky in the surroundings. Unless he could swim freely in the sea like a fish, he would eventually drown in the vast sea due to exhaustion of his strength even if he didn't die in Tang Xiu's hands. How should we talk, Mr. Tang? The moment the 4 old men around him quickly blocked Mo Ao and Kawako Yamamoto, he finally made up his mind and shouted loudly. A disdainful look flashed in Tang Xiu's eyes as he lightly smiled and said, "You've already decided to help Angelo Dolan, and a lot of your men have been killed by my men. What else do you think we have to talk about?" "I've never been short of men, Mr. Tang," said Will Art in a deep voice. "Since some of them have been killed, I naturally have some to replace them. If Mr. Tang likes them, I can also send some of them here later to let them kill to their heart's content." Giving a thumbs up, Tang Xiu praised, "I really feel honored for your men, because they have a good boss who doesn't take their lives seriously. Will Art, I don't actually want to kill you. I just want to do something to you, so I can sell you for a good price. Since you want to talk to me now, then tell me your bargaining chip. If you can move me, I'll consider another way to get some benefits from you." Will Art was delighted, and was about to speak when he suddenly felt a sharp gaze from the side. Angelo Dolan angrily glared at Will Art and shouted in a deep voice, "How can we be friends, Will Art? We've been friends for more than a decade. Don't tell me you also want to betray me like that shameless demon freak geezer? 60% of the profits from Africa's Dante Diamond Mine. I'll give you all of them." Will Art loved wealth. He even dreamed of living in a palace made of pure gold decorated with pearls, agates, jade, and emeralds. But, if he had to choose between wealth and life, he would choose life without hesitation. Because his brain was not damaged, he was very clear that if he lost his life, even if he was given all the wealth in the world, it would be useless. Taking a deep breath, Will Art quickly distanced himself from Angelo and sneered, "Old friend? Apart from the benefits between us, the only thing left is that we've known each other for a longer period of time. You've seen their strength for yourself, Angelo. I advise you to surrender at once, or else you'll die. If you insist on choosing death, then I am not willing to accompany you." Finished. Ignoring Angelo's murderous eyes, he looked back at Tang Xiu and said, "Dear Mr. Tang, I'm very attached to the life in the world. I like breathing fresh air and watching the wonderful world. The deal I want to propose to you is actually very simple. I have a lot of wealth in my hands, and my family also has a lot of wealth. If you need wealth, as long as you spare my life, I can give you a lot of wealth in exchange for your friendship." Friendship? Inwardly, Tang Xiu was disdainful. This guy was on the same side as Angelo just a moment ago, and he definitely had a common enemy. But under the threat of death, he just blinked his eyes and sold Angelo out. If this could be called friendship, then he might as well use a piece of tofu as his shield. However, Tang Xiu was moved by Will Art's proposal since he was in urgent need of money at the moment. He needed a lot of money as he had more and more men, and the resources he consumed far exceeded his expectations. Hence, he decided to give Will Art a chance. "Let me ask you something. How much wealth are you willing to use to buy your life? Or, how much do you think your life is worth? Tan Xiu lit a new cigarette and asked with a smile after taking a puff. Well, Art pondered for a moment. Watching his 4 men being beaten and sent flying backward while vomiting blood, he immediately shouted, $1 billion. I'm willing to use $1 billion to buy my life. Tan Xiu made an okay gesture and laughed aloud. That's great. I'm very satisfied with the price you mentioned. Oh, Kawako, you two wait here. Well, Art, since you've already bought your life, why not buy a few more? These 4 men of yours are very strong. How much do you think their lives are worth? A chilling light flashed in Will Art's eyes. He didn't want to spend a penny on these 4 trash who couldn't protect his safety. However, he could tell from Tan Xiu's words that he still wanted to make some money from him. So after thinking about it, he gritted his teeth and said, $100 million. It's worth $100 million to them at most. Tan Xiu gave him a thumbs up and praised. You're very generous, to the point that I'm a bit shocked. Do you know how much any one of my subordinates is worth? Well, Art's expression shifted. His eyes swept over Mo Ao Kawako and the rest and asked, how much are they worth? Tan Xiu got up from the sofa and raised 5 fingers. $500 million? Well, Art was surprised. You said your men are worth $500 million? Are you kidding me? My men aren't worth $500 million. Tan Xiu shook his head and smilingly said, not far away. Demon Freak Geezer had already killed 2 of Angelo Dolan's powerful men. Upon hearing Tan Xiu's words, a bit of coldness appeared in his eyes. In an instant, he was sure that Tan Xiu's previous words were just bullshit. He didn't care about his men at all. Such a cold-hearted person made him want to escape from Tan Xiu's demonic barrier and stay far away from Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu grinned and said, I won't sell my men even if they're worth $500 million. They're priceless treasures in my heart. Will Art looked disdainful and shook his head. I didn't expect you to be so fond of jokes, Mr. Tang. Everything in this world, including people, is valuable. My life is valuable, and so are their lives. Even the people closest to me are valuable. As long as the price is high enough, you can kill them? Tan Xiu sneered. Or betray them? Well, Art didn't answer, but his expression betrayed his thoughts. Tan Xiu's guess was correct. Tan Xiu sighed inwardly. He then looked at Mo Ao and Kawako and lightly asked, do you think the 2 prices he gave are enough? Kawako took a step forward and respectfully said, Sect Master, I think it's barely acceptable if the price is multiplied by 5. Multiplied by 5? Tan Xiu was secretly speechless. He didn't expect Kawako to be so ruthless. She was simply asking for a sky-high price. $1 billion multiplied by 5 was $5 billion. Even if Will Art was rich, he wouldn't be able to take out so much money, right? However, something unexpected happened. Will Art shot a deep look at Kawako and loudly said, Honorable Mr. Tang, I hope you don't blame me for not saying enough. After all, I've been a businessman for a long time, so I can't help but lower the price a lot of times. As a matter of fact, your men are right. I can accept the price multiplied by 5, but it's almost my limit. Tan Xiu was secretly amazed. He didn't expect that Will Art would be so rich. Such a huge amount of wealth would definitely make him a local tycoon in China. Even if his name was listed on the richest list in China, it was highly likely that he would be at the top. Deal. Tan Xiu nodded to Will Art with a smile. Angelo Dolan's face was ashen at the moment. Looking at Tan Xiu's hypocritical smile and Will Art's smirk, he really wanted to vomit at them. But at this moment, he needed to think about how to save his own life. Saving his own life was the most important thing. Even if he had to take out a huge amount of wealth like Will Art. Angelo looked at Tan Xiu and loudly said, Mr. Tang, I apologize for what I did to your men before. It's my fault that we had a conflict. I'm also willing to buy my life with money. I hope you can name a price. Oh. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile as he looked at Angelo Dolan. He suddenly gave him a thumbs up and praised, You're very smart. Smart people generally live a long life. So do you think your life is more valuable than Will Art? Or is it more worthless than him? Angelo Dolan's complexion turned pale. He shook his head and said, I think my life is more valuable than will art, Mr. Tang. But my house Dolan is very special. Even if I'm the successor of my family, I can't take out so much wealth. But will art is different. All the power of his family is in the hands of him and his father. Even if you ask him to take out more wealth, he can do it. Shut the fuck up, Angelo Dolan. Will Art's eyes turned bloodshot in an instant. He didn't expect that Angelo Dolan would stab him at this time. $5 billion was the limit he could bear. Any more and he would have to ask his father for more money, which was definitely a very unfortunate thing. So it turns out that Will Art can take out more money. Tanshio burst into laughter. Well, it seems that I've asked for less. Angelo Dolan, I've changed my mind. If you can come up with more money than Will Art in 2 hours, I won't kill you. Will Art's heart trembled. He was silent for a few minutes and then said in a deep voice, I need to call my father. Only he can take out so much money. As for me, I only have a little more than $1 billion. Give him the computer. Tell him to transfer $1 billion to our account first. Tanshio raised his brows. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.